To go ahead and call to order this meeting of the Santa Barbara Unified School Board of Education for Tuesday, February 14th, 2017. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. Thank you for being here. We love you too. And we're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Buenas tardes y feliz día de la amistad y del amor. Si necesitan ayuda con la interpretación, tenemos aparatos disponibles para esas puertas dobles. Así que si necesitan escuchar en español, por favor, véanos allí a través de las puertas dobles. Gracias.
All right, and we do have headsets available for the hearing impaired, available over here at the side table if anybody needs those. We're moving on to item C5, introductions, proclamations, presentations, or recognitions. And we have a monthly student board report on this. And do we have our student in the house? There they are. Yay. And many happy returns of the day for our birthday Valentine as well.
All right, well, good evening, board, and happy Valentine's. President Parker, Superintendent Matsuoka, and of course, nice to see you again, Ms. Carey. All right, so for the report this month, we do not have anything to report from La Cuesta or Alta Vista, but we'll begin with San Marcos. So they'll be having their parent information nights for new students and incoming freshmen on February 15th and February 21st. They'll be having a dodgeball tournament during lunchtime starting the week of February 22nd. And they'll be having their air bands or lip sync contest on March 9th. Then for Santa Barbara High School, their winter formal is on
I know, well.
All right. Okay, so Santa Barbara High School's winter formal is on February 25th from 8 to 11 p.m. Their spring pep rally is on March 3rd, and that'll take place in their gymnasium. Then today, actually, they have their spring show auditions. They had that earlier today. And then finally, their talent show is on March 9th from 6 to 8 in their theater.
All right, good evening. My name is Tommy Johnson. I am the ASB president of Dos Pueblos High School. I will be reporting for Dos Pueblos. For social awareness, February is Teen Dating Violence and Awareness Month. And Random Acts of Kindness Week is February 13th through 17th. National Eating Disorders Awareness Week is February 21st through 24th. And for intercultural relations, Black History Month is during February, and some activities come to follow. March 8th are the organizational meetings for the start of International Day, which will take place on April 28th. And the SBCC assessment for seniors will be at Dos Pueblos High School from 8:45 to 1:15 p.m. on March 8th. And Senior Parent Night takes place on February 23rd, 6:30 to 8 p.m. And our all-school air band will be at lunch in the Greek on March 3rd. And that's all we have for you tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen, so much, and have a fabulous rest of the evening. And with that, we'll move on to item C6. This is the superintendent's report.
So tonight is the last work day. Probably won't be the last day that Barbara Chiani is in this building, but we wanted to recognize Barbara's 20 years of service to Santa Barbara Unified. She's sitting in the back, which she often does. And wow, she's like the cultural historian of our district. And today's her last day of work for us. Hey, congratulations, Barbara. So Barbara has spent 20 years working in Santa Barbara Unified. She's seen a lot. She's told a lot of stories. I shared at our little gathering last Friday. You know, the piece that she wrote, the resolution about undocumented students and just supporting our students, it really was Barbara's work. She took some basic language from other organizations, which was fairly formal, and I thought she did a beautiful job of telling the Santa Barbara story over a 20-year period. She's been just so much a part of the district and really the community. So we want to welcome her up, celebrate her. Come on up, Barbara.
I should know better, right?
Yes, you should.
Anyway, thank you, Board. I'm very, very appreciative. This has been, it's not work, it's an incredible opportunity. I have loved every day on this job. I have loved serving this community, and I can't believe it's been 20 years. Anyway, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you for everything you've done, Barbara. We take consolation from knowing that you are not leaving the town, so we will see you. Let's go on to announcement of closed session action. We took no action in closed session. We will be taking a couple of our items. Let's see. B2 and B3 we will be taking action on in open session a little bit later. Board comments and correspondence.
All right, I'm going to call the...
No, board comments and correspondence.
I'm
Don't get
jumping
overexcited,
ahead.
Dr. Reid.
I'm already trying to get board and public comments.
Yeah.
Do you guys have anything?
Do any of you have any activities or communications that you'd like to share? No? I will just share that I was at the Channel Islands Regional Science Initiative this morning, which has been an ongoing project that has expanded originally just our elementary district, expanding up K-12, and now we're working regionally, doing tremendous work around science education and the transition to the next generation science standards. So it was a positive day talking about what's next in our district and in our surrounding community. And with that, we will move on to public comment. Dr. Reid.
Gee, I think we'll do public comment now. All right, so I'm going to read the first three names. You have 3 minutes, and we will start with Chelsea Lancaster, then Olga Turbo, and then Sage Gaspar.
Hi, everyone. I was really hoping to follow the youth's lead tonight, so it's unfortunate that I'm up here first, but just wanted to sort of be here in support of a request that they're going to make this evening. I was actually at the ACLU Know Your Rights Academy this weekend down in LA, and one of the things they really emphasized in that space was how the ACLU really feels strongly about police presence in schools. And when I say that, I mean the lack of police presence in schools, keeping police out of our schools, keeping drug dogs out of our schools. I've had 2 very teary phone calls that I've received. I work in the EOPS program at Santa Barbara City College, so serving all low-income, academically underrepresented students. And I've received 2 very frantic phone calls in the last 3 weeks. One of them was when there were drug-sniffing dogs at Santa Barbara High School. And one was when an ICE agent approached a parent of a student of ours. So I just wanted us to be very clear, and I know there are a lot of allies in the room, and I know we all understand the kind of environment that we're living in right now is an environment of fear. And there's been a lot of language around returning to a place of law and order, and I think we need to do the total opposite of that in our schools. We need to not be doing things that look like that resemble that. Our kids are under a lot of stress, and schools need to be a really safe place for them. And I think, I hope the board will either make a statement or take a position. Again, I don't know what the protocol is or what kind of position you can take, but I hope that we're here to support our youth and to understand that in these trying times, we all need to be really courageous about making sure that they feel safe in the spaces that they deserve to feel safe in, and school is definitely one of those. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Olga Turbo, and I'm the parent of a senior student at Santa Barbara High School. I work also for Santa Barbara City College for the adult education. I've been working for different school districts in Orange County, LA, and Santa Barbara for the last, I guess, 10 years. And back when I was attending UCSB, we did a study about sending my daughter to Santa Barbara High School. Yeah, I was really happy to all the things that I learned about Santa Barbara High School, and I'm actually proud of my daughter attending that school. It's just the last event that happened back in January 27 on a Friday in her English class, when these people came with dogs to search for drugs, is when it really hit me, you know, because I totally feel that I need my daughter to be in a safe environment, school. And I'm totally against that type of procedure. I understand the school policies. I agree that we need to be careful with our kids. But I definitely am against those kind of procedures, and I really would love and ask please to stop doing that, because I don't appreciate that, I don't like that, and I'm speaking as a parent and also as a member of the community. I believe as parent, we all are happy our kids are there attending school. They're not out of the school. You know, they're on time, they're listening to their teacher, and I feel that was very abrupt interruption, and I'm against that. So it's all I want to say, and I appreciate it, and I thank you for listening.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, hola, buenas tardes, good evening. My name is Sage Gaspar, and I'm a senior at Santa Barbara High School, and I'm going to be attending City College in the fall. And I am a direct product of the Santa Barbara Unified School District, having been attended public school since I was in kindergarten. So I would like to start by congratulating Ismael Ulloa for getting his spot on the board. And also, I'm here today to talk about the unconstitutional random canine searches that occur on the high school campuses. So, as a student, I have witnessed these throughout my for 3.5 years of being at the high school, and it violates our rights. You know, on the 27th of the last search that happened on campus, the dog got a false hit on my stepbrother's belongings, and completely, you know, they pulled him out of class, they sent him to the assistant principal's office, and tried to get him to self-incriminate himself by asking him questions when he, in fact, was at school learning, doing what he was supposed to be doing, and there was no need for him to be treated this way when, you know, there was nothing on him. And so I'm here to ask you guys to review that policy. I'm aware that a lot of you board members are new here. And so I'm asking you guys to review the policy and revoke this policy that allows for canine searches on campus, because they disrupt class, you know. When the third-party company comes in and brings the dogs into our classrooms, we have to leave our classrooms, whether it's in the middle of a lesson, you know, with no care about our education. And it's also something that plays a huge problem with this is failing to educate students on their rights. You know, a lot of the students don't understand that it's against the Constitution for this policy to exist. The Fourth Amendment protects students as well, you know, not just adults. And I understand that students only need a suspicion to be searched and not probable cause, but random searches don't fall under probable cause. And just as a member of this community who organizes a lot and works a lot, I just ask you guys to remove this policy and to make our schools safer and more learning-oriented. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah Bazan, Ashley Hernandez, and Gloria Liggett will be the next three. Sarah Bazan.
Hello, everyone, and thank you all for your service to the school district. My name is Sarah Basan, and I am a psychotherapist and a marriage family therapist here in town. I've worked at CALM for 10 years. That's a child abuse treatment center, and I'm presently the supervisor at the Children's Mental Health, the county Children's Mental Health. So I'm very aware of the psychology of children's development, and I'm very concerned about the use of dogs in the class, in the school, on the school campus. And one is, you need to understand that the implicit and explicit messages that adults and society give to our children are internalized. And so if you can think about what are the messages that we're giving to our children, if we take them out of their classroom, bring in dogs, right, and have them searched, what is the message? It's criminalizing them. It's accusing them. It's making them suspect. You have to understand, what does this do to their self-concept, right? And when they, so beyond the fact that it's unconstitutional, beyond the fact that it is really disrupting their learning, you know, it also is disrupting their development. It's creating messages that they really come to believe that that's who they are, and there's more likelihood that they will internalize those messages and actually act upon them and start to believe that they are no good, that they are suspect. And that is very, very dangerous for our society and for our children, and it's extremely unfair because they are very vulnerable to those messages. So I really ask the board, I know that you have the best interest of our children in mind. That's why you are here. This is what you do. And so really take this to heart, because this is very, very stressful for students. And when they're treated in this way, it leads to feelings of hopelessness and not feeling valued. So when you're not valued, your self-esteem goes down. And when your self-esteem goes down, you're more likely to look for drugs and alcohol and things and self-destructive behaviors. So rather than looking to and paying money and spending money on hiring dogs and companies to bring in dogs, how about if we use that money to continue some of the great programs and add to some of the great programs we have? CADA, the YSS, I mean, we have some really good programs in our schools.
30 seconds.
And what we need is more of that, and no more dogs. The other thing is you have to understand about the fear, what happens to children and humans in general when you have a fear response. Your neocortex shuts down, and your lower brain is working, and you cannot learn. So I know that most of you understand this and really take it to heart, that what are we doing to our children when we're threatening and intimidating them with dog searches. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ashley Hernandez. I'm a senior at Santa Barbara High School. I was born and raised here in Santa Barbara, so I've been through the whole Santa Barbara School District. And on January 27th, during my third period, my classroom was interrupted by an admin along with InterQuest. For those of you who don't know, InterQuest is a private-owned company that provides canines, drug dogs, to search schools to find illegal substances such as drugs and gunpowder, specifically on students. A couple of the students in class, including myself, announced that that was unlawful and unconstitutional. We wouldn't allow this to happen because it breaks our Fourth Amendment right. And as we left out, we had to leave outside because it had to be done. When he came back to my class, okay, so they searched the classroom, and then I'd say a couple minutes later, we went back, and then the assistant principal ended up taking one of my friends, and when he came back, he told me that it was a false alarm and that he didn't have anything on him, and it was just like the dog kind of got hit out of it, and yeah, and it was a false alarm. And I just wanted to kind of relate it. So imagine yourself having a nice calm dinner with your family and suddenly hearing someone open your front door and come in. You see it is a police officer along with a canine. They say, "Sorry for the intrusion, but don't mind if I randomly search your home. I'm looking for drugs." How would you feel? What would you do? The Fourth Amendment states in synopsis, no illegal searches or seizures without suspicion. And what was done broke federal law. I hope some action will be taking place in a correct manner. And yeah, thank you for your time.
Thank you. So we have, excuse me, Gloria, is she here? And then after Gloria will be Kim Miller.
Hi, I'm Gloria Liggett. Some of you I've seen around, some of you I taught when you were little people. I'm old. I've been around Santa Barbara for a long time, in and out of the schools, working in many ways, since '73. I'm going to talk from a different point of view, from my heart. I love these kids. I'm their grandma, and I spend lots of time with all the different groups of kids. I myself have a very colorful family, have raised biracial kids, black kids, Native American kids. And my family, unfortunately, knows what it's like to be sort of on the other side of the law when you're driving in the car and you get stopped just because the old driving while black. We know what that's like, and it doesn't feel good. And the thing that really hurts is I remember the days of watching television and watching all the dogs going after the people during civil rights, and it was scary. I know they weren't going after me, but it was scary. These days are scary times. The kids I work with, LGBT kids, the Latin kids, the black kids, they're hurting. They're scared. They sit home at night and turn on the television and see parents being taken away from their kids, from their families. Isn't their fault. They get taken away. And then they go to a safe place, to their school, and they get dragged off. I know it was a random search, but it was a Mexican-American literature class filled with brown children. Those are the same ones that watch television every night, lately particularly, and watch parents be dragged away from their families. We can't do that. These are our precious, precious children. And one of the things I've learned about working with kids is they do what you expect them to do. And if you expect that they're going to do drugs, and if you expect that they're going to be in trouble all the time, that's what you get. You get kids who do drugs, you get kids who are in trouble. Kids want to make you right. And we need to work with our hearts more. We need to feel what these kids feel, and school has to be a safe place, a sanctuary for them. And from what I hear, I was at a meeting that night, Friday night when it happened, and saw many tears and fearful, fearful children. So please consider this not just with your head, but consider it with your heart, and remember what it's doing to the kids.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Kim Miller, and I'm a science teacher at Goleta Valley Junior High School. And I actually didn't know what the big topic was for discussion. I completely agree with what the lady before me said. But I'm coming just as a teacher, straight from the classroom, having graded science fair projects all day. I thought it might be a good thing for you occasionally as the board to hear directly from a teacher, boots on the ground, what life is like. And so I thought I would give you 3 roses and a thorn. And I'm going to start with the thorn first because I don't like to end on a negative note. I hope that you do not underestimate the terror and discouragement and horror, really, that staff and students feel as a result of the immigration authorities in Santa Barbara County catching people who don't have documents. This is terrifying. As a teacher of students who have dreamer status, I have supported them in every way I possibly can, even financially, and it breaks my heart to see people that I have mentored for years being targeted because they didn't have papers. I feel like handcuffing myself to my former students who are under threat of being deported, or my current students. You know, they can drag me along with them if they want, but it's really a big impact, so please don't underestimate it. Whatever you can do, I don't know what you can do. So that's the thorn from the teacher's perspective. Now, one of the roses is we are at our school so grateful that we have roofs that don't leak. We have for years had roofs that leak, literally umbrellas in the classroom. Bond measures repaired our roofs. Bond measures repaired the drainage at our school, so the water drains. And bond measures came through to give us heat in the classroom. So we're so grateful. We're also grateful for CalSoap tutors. This is a scattershot random occurrence here. I'm going to give you roofs and CalSoap tutors. They are awesome. Because of them, I have many students doing science fair projects who otherwise wouldn't have been able to do them. Another thing we're very grateful for and happy about is our new superintendent.
30 seconds.
The teachers are thrilled. We are so grateful that we have an awesome superintendent. So just wanted to let you know. 3 roses and a thorn from a teacher.
Thank you very much. Thank you, and thank you to all the speakers tonight. We're going to move on to the consent agenda shortly, but I just wanted to say I know that it takes a lot of courage to exercise your right as a citizen to come up and speak in front of us, and so I'm so impressed with your bravery. And if that was too much, we love getting emails from our constituents as well, so please feel free to email us about your thoughts on any topic, but particularly about the Interquest canines. I do think it would be timely for there to be some sort of board brief on to help give the new board members some background on when, where, why, and paths forward. So thank you very much. And with that, we will go ahead and move on to the consent agenda. And you don't have to sit here for the consent agenda if you need to go. But board members, are there any items that you need to pull? Dr. Reid?
Only one, just because.
Mike.
Only, actually, number 9, just in terms of typing, a typo.
Okay, so we can address it immediately afterwards?
Exactly.
All right, any others that need to be pulled? Can I get a motion then to pass all of them except for D9?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I'm going to give that motion to Ms. Sims-Moten and the second to Mr. Ulloa. And before we take a vote on it, I do want to note in discussion that on item D12, Human Resources recommendations, we have a number of teachers listed on there that are temporary teachers. It's that time of year when we give pink slips, the dreaded pink slips to temporary teachers, just in case our enrollment is low next year and we don't need them. I think it's difficult for teachers every year, and I know that these are generally our younger teachers, and I certainly hope that we're able to hire them back in the future. But I just wanted to know that that was happening. And with that, I'll go ahead and take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, it passes unanimously. And now we'll take item D9. This is approval of research memorandum of understanding with child abuse listening and mediation calm for Proyecto Heros, trauma-informed prevention for Latino or Latina youth and parents. And that is Ms. Wagenek. And Dr. Reid, what did you have to share about
It's
that?
just a very simple typo. But in the background section, third line, it says SBUSD and UCSB approved January 24th, 17, COM will pilot. A double will pilot.
Will pilot. We will take out one will pilot.
Really gonna pilot.
Thank you. We will.
All right, with
Anything
that,
else? Okay.
with that correction, can I get a motion to approve item D9?
So moved. Second.
All right, approved by, motion by Ms. Capps, second by Ms. Sims Moten. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and that passes unanimously. That moves us to public hearings. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and close our regular meeting temporarily and open a public hearing on a number of items. Our first one is a public hearing regarding the Olive Grove Charter School petition for establishment of a charter school within the district. Mr. Matsuoka.
This is required by statute, so it's an opportunity for anybody who wants to speak about Olive Grove. You are welcome to come forward. I do believe we have some cards. And just for the board's information, the staff report will come to you, I believe, the first board meeting in March. Okay.
All right, so we will call three up first. Trixie, and please forgive me if I've said your name wrong. Trixie Lettieri? Lettieri, okay. Brian Periso and Crystal Kyert. So one at a time, but in that order. Thank you. Did you give us a?
No, because normally when we've done this process, they've already allowed us 10 minutes, just to kind of give an overview about the school, and then they, usually did that part at the beginning of it. So every board's different, so I just wanted you to know that we did have a prepared, 5-minute, little thing to say, but then there were also the people wanting to speak it.
Right, I think that we would normally do that when it's actually on our conference agenda and not at the public hearing. I mean, that's something that we would do together.
That's how we did it at the state board, and that's how we did it at the county, but they allowed us that time.
Well, and also we would put that on the agenda. We would have your. Yeah, you're welcome to come up and speak, but I'm surprised that we didn't get an attachment or any presentation to make available to the public if you have something to share.
Okay, it's just, I guess they're all done a little different.
I think so.
We've gone through this process before, so we were just following what
Yeah.
other boards typically do, so do you need us to go fill out another?
If you'd like to do a speaker slip, and you can have 3 minutes, but you can also you'll have all the time you need when it's on a conference agenda. Just FYI. So you can choose.
I'm not sure what a conference agenda is.
Oh, that's yeah, sorry. That's when it's on our regular agenda.
Would you like them to speak first to give a little overview to talk about what the topic?
We can just keep going at this point. Yeah, it's more efficient.
Okay. Hi, I'm Trixie Lettieri, and I'm a Santa Barbara mom of 4 kids, and I have one of them that goes to Olive Grove. And my kids have gone to all different schools and flourished fantastic. We've moved for different reasons. And my first child just graduated after went off to college, and his experience was fantastic. But my child, by the time, the one that goes to Olive Grove, by the time he was in 6th grade, although he did really well in school, he was always very quiet, didn't speak up, and kind of wanted to just, he wanted to get his work done. But a lot of the things in the classrooms were very distracting. There, teachers paying attention to kids were acting up, and there was a lot of distractions that really bothered him, and he was quiet about it, didn't say anything. And then finally, he had an opportunity to go to a charter school in Durango where we lived for a bit, and that was, you know, it was like really about just the learning and interactive, and he could go at his own pace and do from his heart of what he wanted, and that is how it was best for him to learn. And every kid learns differently, and it's just fantastic that we have the various schools in this town and a charter school such as Olive Grove that he can do his passion and have his passion for learning. And it's just different than what is in the regular setting of you know, the other public schools. And one thing he had, he's a rock climber, and that's what 7th, 8th, 9th, you know, the grades, they don't have that as any extracurricular activity. And for him to really pursue that and put in the time he wanted, he, you know, needed to be able to get his schoolwork done, adjust that to when, in between when he wanted to climb, and skip the assemblies and skip the, you know, extra, you know, all the other stuff that goes along that's fantastic, you know, with the other schools. But by cutting out some of that and the time in between classes and all that, he could then focus, get his work done, and also do his passion that he wants to do as a lifelong skill and you know, possible career. And so it's just fantastic. There's the school that allows him to work at his own pace, have a program that works for him, that can be adjusted for him. And I can see that with each of the kids in the school, they can adjust to what they need and at their pace. And he does all his learning and basically on his own through a computer program. He is incredibly self-motivated, and that is what he needed to educate him for his future. And maybe
30 seconds.
And maybe not, you know, it might not work for everybody, but it is a fantastic resource that we have here. And without it, my child would not be doing what he's doing now, wouldn't be doing as fantastic as he is, already going to City College and doubling up on studies there. So I want to thank you very much for listening to me. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.
Hello, Council. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my concerns. My name is Brian Paraso, and I'm here to share my experiences working with students as a teacher at Olive Grove Charter School. I graduated from Santa Barbara High School, and I think it's a great school. I gained much from my 4 years there, but I can tell you that for a small number of students, the traditional school is not working for them. Virtually all of the students and families who walk through our doors for the first time come in desperation. There is a wide range of reasons that students feel the need to explore what our school has to offer. I have a high school student who is distracted by her peers and simply cannot focus with her friends around, and she is now thriving in a quiet environment we provide at Olive Grove. I have a middle school student who came to our school because of the common awkward social scene of middle school reaching a boiling point, and it affected her ability to reach her academic potential. She is now earning straight A's again at Olive Grove. Some students are failing their classes and at risk of not graduating. I have several who have had a sudden nosedive in their grades and were on the verge of giving up on graduating from high school completely until they found out about Olive Grove and found a place where they can finish their credits that they need to graduate. Finally, I want to mention several families I work with who do not want to take their children to the traditional neighborhood school for personal or religious reasons. If Olive Grove were not available to these families, they would be trying to homeschool their children on their own without any public resources. We provide these families a standards-based education, tuition-free, while being able to respect their personal educational preference to not attend a traditional public school. I hope the council sees the vital service Olive Grove provides to our community and will support us in our efforts to educate students who have fallen through the cracks. I appreciate your attention to my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, good evening. My name is Crystal Keinert. I'm a teacher as well at Olive Grove Charter School. And I just wanted to let you know a little bit about Olive Grove. We provide an important environment for so many students. From the professional surfer, the skateboarder who travels and seeks challenges both inside and outside of school, to the high schooler who suffers from extreme migraines or bullying, and also the young man or woman who's embarking on the adventure of college and taking advantage of dual enrollment classes at Santa Barbara City College. Olive Grove provides the flexibility as well as challenging academics in a supportive, caring environment that helps students succeed. Every teacher and parent knows that not all children fit into the same structure or learn the same way. We all have different gifts and challenges. In the 6 years I have taught at Olive Grove, I have seen lives changed. I have seen shy students become strong and confident. One such boy came to Olive Grove as a 9th grader. In his first meeting with me, I mentioned that we would do an assessment test as a benchmark to see where he was in English and math. He became extremely upset, refused to take the test, and walked out of the building. He had an IEP and had medication for ADHD. Between that medication and his test anxiety, he just felt that he couldn't take the assessment. The following week, he came back for a meeting. I talked with him about how his classes were going, mentioned the assessment, and he finally agreed to take it. In the years that followed, I saw his confidence rise along with his grades. He took several classes at Santa Barbara City College and brightened my day with his lighthearted jokes and stories. He graduated 4 years later, a self-assured, confident young man, ready for college and a career. There's many more stories to tell, but I'm so thankful to work at a school that truly changes people's lives. Our students go on to 4-year colleges, universities, local, Santa Barbara City College, jobs and careers that all contribute positively to our community and world. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. So Allison Reid and Laura Mudge, you want to both come up and we can give you each 3 minutes? Sure. And then a third person after would be Dawn Wilson.
Thank you so much for allowing us to speak. I am Laura Mudge. I'm the Executive Director of Olive Grove Charter School. I think, Laura, I saw you at a Healthy Wellness Commission meeting. And Allison Reid, she is this year the lead teacher of Santa Barbara, but she will be the principal of Santa Barbara next year when we are broken up into 4 separate charters instead of 1 as we currently operate. So Olive Grove Charter School has served students throughout Santa Barbara County for the past 15 years. We're the very first independent study charter school that's been authorized by the California State Board of Education. And we really love working with the California Department of Education and the State Board of Education. They've been wonderful. Go ahead. Do you want to? Okay.
Olive Grove Charter School is in good standing with the State Board of Education, the California Department of Education, and El Dorado County Office of Education, Charter SELPA. Olive Grove Charter School is WASC accredited for grades TK through 12 and offers a full curriculum of UC A through G approved courses. Both California Charter Schools Association and Charter School Development Center endorse our program, and we have been asked to present workshops during conferences for both organizations. Olive Grove currently operates as an independent study program authorized by the California State Board of Education, with operations overseen by the California Department of Education. Students attend individualized meetings with a certificated teacher on a weekly basis. At this individualized meeting, the certificated teacher reviews previously assigned learning objectives and assignments, provides instructional support, delivers tests, and assigns learning objectives and assignments for the subsequent week. Parents of students in grades TK through 8 must be present at every weekly meeting, and parents of students in grades 9 through 12 must be present in 1 meeting a month, as parents are an integral part of the program's requirements and success. Support classes are offered for students in math and English language arts and for completion of UC A through G approved laboratory requirements in science and visual arts classes. Additionally, Olive Grove Charter School offers enrichment labs for collaborative, hands-on, inquiry-based learning opportunities.
Olive Grove Charter School serves students in grades TK through 12 seeking an alternative educational option. The charter school expects to serve a population similar to that of the current school that we operate right now. The ethnic profile of Olive Grove Charter School is approximately 42% white, 47% Hispanic or Latino, 4% 2 or more races, and less than 1% others. Additionally, approximately 8% of our students are classified as English learners, and about 70% qualify for the federal free and reduced lunch program. The last time that the accountability measures, which used to be called the API, were completed, we had a score of 780 in 2012 and 741 in 2013. Olive Grove Charter School's 2013 statewide rank was 5, and similar schools' rank was 9. And we expect similar outcomes in the new state and federal accountability reporting systems as they become available next year. Proficiency rates are substantially higher among students who have attended the school for 2 or more years, as you can well imagine.
The impetus for this new charter petition is the result of a recent court decision that affects independent charter schools throughout California, including Olive Grove Charter School. On October 16th, 2016, the 3rd District Court of Appeals ruled in the Alpine Union School District versus Shasta Secondary Homeschool that independent study charter schools may not have resource centers outside of the boundaries of the school district in which the charter is authorized, but within the same county.
So interestingly enough, we do have an out-of-county learning center that is not in danger at this point. And the State Board of Education has given us more time to continue. We're authorized through June of 2020, but the State Board doesn't know what they're going to do at this point with all the independent study programs like ours throughout the state, so we wanted to get a head start and come to you directly since we have been operating here in Santa Barbara County for past 15 years. So anyway, I'll go on. I just kind of took a little side segue. So we have 4 resource centers located within Santa Barbara County currently that are affected by the ruling. These resource centers have been in operation and serving the needs of Olive Grove Charter School since the charter school was first approved by the State Board of Education in July 2015 and through the predecessor school, Olive Grove Charter Homeschool, which was authorized in 2001-2002 school year. Olive Grove Charter School created these resource centers in alignment with the direction that was provided by the California Department of Education, as provided in the letter dated on November 14th, 2002, from Janet Sterling, Director of School Fiscal Services Division, updating charter school administrators, county and district superintendents, and chief business officials on recent charter legislation, including AB 1994, and has continued to operate. We've continued to operate these facilities in alignment with the law and State Board of Education and California Department of Education since we were approved by the State Board of Education.
If these centers were to close, over 400 students countywide and over 100 students in Santa Barbara would be negatively impacted. The charter is necessary to allow the continued operation of Olive Grove Charter's existing
Your
resource
time is
center.
up. Thank you.
Is that all 6 minutes? Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
So Don Wilson should be coming up, and then Sanar Gullickson and Thomas DeGolia.
Good evening and happy Valentine's Day to everybody. My name is Dawn Wilson, and I'm a parent who has 5 children. And some of my kids have gone to Olive Grove Charter School at some of the different locations, and some of my children have done traditional schools, just depending on the part in our life that we were at. My son originally went to a traditional high school, but was a varsity soccer player, was hit in the head with another student and suffered irreversible damage. At the time that we were at the school, he had 6 weeks off. And when they asked him to go back to school, he was getting really bad migraines from the light. So when we asked what we were supposed to do, they said, you need home hospital care from us, but we don't have any teachers for you. So we recommend Olive Grove Charter School. He graduated, and he's now at junior college. In his first semester, he had a 4.0. So we're very excited about that, but had we not had Olive Grove, I honestly don't know where we would be at that moment. I have a daughter who's currently attending Olive Grove Charter School, and she wants to be a professional tennis player. So she has 2 tennis coaches and a personal coach for her fitness and her health, and she plays tennis approximately 6 to 8 hours a day, and then she does her studies at night. I wanted to be a parent who gave my child a choice, and that choice was you can go to a traditional school or you can try this. She took the choice to try it, and she's doing very well. A huge concern I had was I wanted an independent study that was A through G approved because she does want to go to a D1 university, Stanford. So I had to make sure that the school could get her there. So between her teacher, her counselor, and the rest of us parents, we're doing a pretty good job in getting her there. I have another daughter who has social anxiety, and traditional school just wasn't cutting it. Migraines constantly, medication constantly. We brought her into Olive Grove Charter School, and she has flourished, and we're looking at possibly UC Berkeley. The point I'm trying to make is, as a parent, I'd like to have a choice. I'd like to have a choice on if I'm going to do the traditional route, if I'm going to do the independent study route, because I, as a parent, want what's best for them, and that doesn't always fit into a box. And Olive Grove Charter School isn't in that box, but it's something that gave my kids the ability.
30 seconds.
I don't know who says that. Okay. I kept looking. Oh, but anyway, so it's an amazing school. I am probably a poster child for it. I bleed green. I hoot because we're the Owls. And I love the school, and I love the opportunities it gave my kids, and I love the standards that it brought. And it's such a great thing for you guys to have, and I really hope that you guys consider it. Thank you.
Thank you. So Sahar Gullickson, come on down.
Hi guys, my name is Sahar Gullickson. I am a teacher at Olive Grove. We all know we have different students that we serve, and differentiation is important in the classroom, and I feel that this also extends to choices students have in schooling. I spent 5 years working in inner city public schools. This is my first year at Olive Grove, and I can't emphasize enough the importance of the environment we provide in helping students who need extra support or who need a different type of school setting to thrive. And I'll briefly share 3 stories of students with you just to kind of emphasize that point. The first is a 9th grade student who suffered from severe anxiety and missed almost 2 weeks of school because of it. It was affecting her schoolwork, and she was becoming very depressed. Her mom decided to look for another school option, and she wound up with us, and she started in the middle of last semester. She's doing fantastic now. Her anxiety is much more controlled. She's happy. She makes all of her appointments with me. She has all of her schoolwork done. And I was so impressed with her that I actually made her, I asked her to be my TA this semester, and she accepted, and she's doing great now. So the next student experience actually happened today. This student came at the beginning of the semester having completely failed all of her classes last semester and only passing part of her classes her freshman year. And while working with her, I asked her how she liked our program and whether she liked it as much as her old school. And she said she liked her program, but she preferred her old school more. And so I kind of paused, and I asked her why. And she said, well, she smiled and said, because, well, you make sure I get all my work done. And if it's not right, you make me fix it. And so I took that as a compliment. The last student started in the beginning of the year. She had not been doing well in school and had major confidence issues in her abilities. Her mom said, I talked to her mom privately, and she said that her daughter had really struggled, and most of the time her teachers would pair her with another student because she struggled so much. This became very demoralizing to her, and when it was done over and over again, it began to wear on her over time. It made her question herself and her abilities, and because of the structure of our program, I've been able to give her much more one-on-one attention and work on building up her confidence. As this year has progressed, it's been very rewarding to watch her develop and become just more, have a better positive attitude and more positive towards her abilities, towards herself. So I feel like by our schools working together,
30 seconds.
Okay, our schools working together, I truly believe that we can meet the needs of all the students that we serve in Santa Barbara. I truly believe that. And I thank you for your time, and I appreciate your consideration.
Thank you. So we have Thomas DeGolia, then we have Neal Theron, and then Victor McConnell. None of you are here. Okay. And Thomas is here? Oh, Thomas is not here. Okay. Victor and Neal. All right.
Hi there. My name is Neal Terrian. I have 18 stickers. I'm going to take 5 seconds per sticker. Let me know. I have 4 children that are in the public school system. 2 of them are at least are in the home-based partnership program that is resident here in Santa Barbara. So I don't have to go to these meetings every other year for home-based partnership, which is an elementary school thing, which I'm sure you're aware of. But I do get the honor of going to these things every couple, 3 years for this thing about the school being based somewhere else. So this is about Olive Grove. And one of my kids is graduating as a senior, graduating this year. He has completed, because of the connection to the dual enrollment, he has, and the flexibility of that dual enrollment at City College, in my opinion, he is a good thing for City College. And this program is good for City College because you get students that are doing pretty well. He's completed a bunch of classes, 6, 8 courses at City College. He's done his undergraduate math. He's done this year. So, not tooting it, I'm just saying the opportunity's there. I have another child who is going to be a freshman next year at Olive Grove. And, you know, I'm as skeptic as the rest of them about public school versus home-based. I'm not going to make an excuse that the public school system wouldn't have worked for my kids. I think it probably would have. So this is a choice. And at some point in their lives, the kids got so independent that they made their own choice. And I can't talk them out of it. I went through a traditional school system. So this is, I'm calling it independence. You can call it what you want. But they have a social atmosphere through the karate programs that they go to every other day. So, you know, they're getting their social interaction with public school kids. But their choice is to just do this. And as long as they're learning how to do independent study, I'm happy with that. And I've watched this happen through 4 children. And right around 9, 10 years, at 11, 12, they suddenly realize that they have to do things on their own. And so it's not for everybody. It's not for all kids. But I'm giving you the other case where you have the other spectrum of kids that, you know, kind of get choices and they do want to do this and they're independent. And then there's the other benefits for children that aren't so fortunate that this program also benefits. So, you know, there's both sides of the spectrum that benefit from this program. So 30 seconds. 10, 30? All right. So, you know, thank you for the consideration again, because I was here in the other building 2, 3 years ago down the road, and I can only hope you keep it around whether it's based here or not. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Victor McConnell. I'm a graduate from Olive Grove, and I'm also on the board. Before I was on the board of Olive Grove, I volunteered for a robotics foundation that really pushed the idea of hands-on project-based learning in the schools in the San Ynez Valley. And I think Olive Grove encapsulates that quote very well, because today we had a robotics meeting at Olive Grove, and we had such a great learning experience. We blew up 3 important electronics today, and you know, it was such a proud moment for me as a robotics mentor to see that, because on paper, everything was just supposed to work. I mean, our programming was nailed. It all looked good. You know, mechanically, everything was sound. We wired it up. We double-checked everything. We turned it on, and the motor didn't spin. And right away, I knew that was a great thing, because now we got to figure it out. And, you know, normally, you know, in a textbook, you know, there's the answers in the back of the book, you know, or the teacher has the answer. This, nobody had the answer. You had to find it. And we spent, you know, a few minutes trying another electronic part, and we blew that one up and that one. And then we finally figured out that it was the motor itself. It simply seized up and was running current through the entire electronics things. But it was fine. It was great, because we can replace these parts all day. That's no big deal. But for the experience for these students to be able to see, you know, that hard work and to see a problem and actually solve it, you know, a practical problem like that, it was such an amazing experience. And it's really exciting to see that go through Olive Grove's future, having this hands-on project-based learning environment where students are able to take the science and the math that they're learning in a book into a practical application and to really bring their problem-solving skills to life. So thank you.
Thank you. And last, we have Judy Osterhage.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I've been in education for almost 40 years, and I'm a staunch believer in the neighborhood elementary schools, but that just didn't happen to be my family's journey, unfortunately. My son, who went to Dos Pueblos, loved it, played water polo, but got very sick when he was a junior and couldn't attend school any longer. It turned out that he was in heart failure, and he started independent study. And I was so surprised about how well he could organize his study skills, his time management, because I hadn't really seen it before. So he did fabulous, and he ended up passing away when he was 17. And unfortunately, we found out that it was a hereditary heart disease. And so my younger son is in heart failure as well. However, he wasn't old enough to do middle college, and he wasn't old enough, and there wasn't place for him at Alta Vista. And the home hospital, he didn't fit into that. And so I seriously was thinking, gosh, homeschooling, I'm a single mom, I have a full-time job, and was really struggling with what to choose. And when I found out about Olive Grove, I was like, oh my gosh, I was so relieved. And so we entered into Olive Grove pretty recently. And with the same thing with my son that I saw with my Sam was the ability to have time management, the notes he was taking, how much he was doing. And I was just like so impressed, because I thought, I also work at Santa Barbara City College, and a lot of our students who come in from being seniors aren't ready at college level. And so I got really excited because I saw evidence of my kids working at that level. So I just really want to thank Olive Grove and really think that we have that opportunity to do independent study with them, and look really forward to working with them these next few years. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, with no more public comment on this item, I'm going to go ahead and close this public hearing and move on to public hearing number 2, which is Sunshine for California School Employees Association Collective Bargaining for 2016-2017. Thank you. And this says Mr. Torino, but maybe it's Mr. Matsuoka.
I'll step in. So this item is an opportunity for the public to comment on the CSCA proposal. They have sunshined it, and so that's the background.
Do we have any public comment on this item? All right, if not, I'm going to go ahead and close public hearing number 2, moving on to public hearing number 3. This is Sunshine for Certificated Collective Bargaining. Mr. Matsuoka.
And so this is our statement about our topics of negotiation with SBTA, so it's an opportunity for the public to comment on this.
And there's no public comment, so I'm going to go ahead and close public hearing number 3, moving on to public hearing number 4, Sunshine for Santa Barbara Teachers Association Collective Bargaining for 2016-2017.
So the board received this letter, I think it was a couple board meetings ago, chance for the public to comment on SBTA's Sunshine letter.
And with no public comment, I will go ahead and close this public hearing, and we'll move back to our action agenda, reopening the regular meeting. First up is item F1, board action on petitions for readmission of expelled students. We do have 2 case numbers here, 2015-16-25 and 2015-16-33.
In the case of 2015-16-25, I move to accept the reentry from expulsion with enforcement suspended for 1 school year ended on June 2016.
Is there a second?
Second.
I'm hesitating here for a moment just because we have these as a combined action agenda item, and I'm feeling like because it's combined, should I take these separately as 2 separate votes on this one item, Mr. Matsuoka?
We should separate the votes, yes.
Separate out? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And that passed unanimously. And then item 2015-16-33.
In the case of number 2015-16-33, I move to accept the reentry from expulsion with enforcement suspended for 1 school year ended on January 2017.
Second.
That was moved by Dr. Reid and seconded by Mr. Ulloa. All those in favor? Aye. And that passes unanimously. Moving on to item F2. This is board action on student discipline, Ed Code 48918, case number 2016-17-22.
In the case of 2016-17-22, I move to accept the full expulsion for one school year, which ends June 2017.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. That passes unanimously, and we move on to item F3. This is an approval of the proposal from Flowers and Associates for design and construction contract support for the school access pathways renovation project at Cleveland Elementary School and approval of a budget increase for the project. Mr. Hetjunk?
Thank you, Mr. Matsuoka. President Parker, as referenced during public comment at the last meeting, this proposal is to rework two pathways at Cleveland Elementary School. And at the time the original budget was established, we did not have a thorough investigation of the project. In meeting with our design team, this project is short on budget by about $100,000, so we're asking for two things this evening. To approve the contract from Flowers and Associates to do the design for the project manual, and the construction documents, and to allocate an additional $100,000 towards the project.
Thank you, Mr. Hetjung. Board members, any questions?
Yes.
Moten.
What's the additional 100,000 for? Is it for the design itself or for the actual construction?
It's for the total project budget. The design is typically a percentage of the work being accomplished, so a majority of that money would go towards the construction project.
Thank you.
The reason why the cost went up is we're going to do that sidewalk in concrete instead of asphalt, which is going to be much better for longevity and safety.
Ms. Capps?
Just curious, because there's such community interest in this. When is the expected completion of this project?
We hope to have this completed in time for school in the fall.
Great.
I'll just ask, so this is not approving the construction contract. That will come at a later date.
Correct. This is increasing the budget and approving the design only.
Okay. And so the fiscal impact for this, I just got to, this is for the members of the public, because it, in the background it's referring to the, $779,000, but this particular cost is $87,530.
And that is for the design and for construction administration during the project.
Perfect. All right, so we need a motion to approve this proposal from Flowers and Associates. So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Capps and seconded by Ms. Sims-Moten. All those in favor? Aye. That passes unanimously, and we're looking forward to that.
Thank you.
As I know the Cleveland community really is as well. That moves us to item F4, approval of Santa Barbara Unified School District's proposal for certificated collective bargaining 2016-17. Mr. Matsuoka.
Our recommendations of opening topics to negotiate does need to be approved by the governing board. It's fairly generic. As we get into the language, we may get into specifics about two items that we wish to negotiate on in the future.
Okay, so I need a motion to approve the proposal for certificated collective bargaining.
So moved.
Seconded. Moved by Mr. Ulloa, seconded by Dr. Reid. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and that passes unanimously. Thank you. And this is next, F5, approval of provisional internship permit for chemistry. And Ms. Peak, are you speaking on this, or is this Mr. Matsuoka?
Since you're here, we should.
Thanks, Brian. Gosh, that's tall. Good evening, everyone. So there are different options that teachers can use in order to be credentialed in order to teach a class. And a course came up at San Marcos where there was a need for one section of chemistry. Unfortunately, we were unable to find anyone on campus that was willing to take the extra period in chemistry, but we did have someone on campus who had enough units that would qualify him for a provisional internship permit. And in this case, we are asking that the board approve the provisional internship permit so that we might submit it up to the Commission on Teacher Credentialing. He has 9 units of regular science and 9 units of chemistry, semester units. So.
Any questions, Dr. Reid?
Yeah, I just wondered, what is the process by which he gets his subject matter competence, requirement cleared?
Well, in this case, because it's a provisional internship permit, he has to have a total of 18 semester units in science. Because it's chemistry, you can use 9 units of any sort of science, whether it's biology, physics, any of that. But you do have to have 9 units in the other science matters. In this case, it's chemistry.
So he's in the process, he'll be pursuing this while he's in the position?
He'll be granted the provisional internship permit by the Commission on Teacher Credentialing based on those 18 semester units of science. And then he's hoping to get enrolled in a credential program.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions? Can I get a motion, please?
All right, I move to approve the provisional internship permit for chemistry.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That passes unanimously. Thank you.
Great, thanks.
Next up is the item F6, approval of new classified job description, family engagement liaison, school site level. Is that Mr. Tangway?
Oh, good.
Okay, this is a new classified job description that is designed to help our elementary sites and our junior highs who don't have the infrastructure in place like the high school sites do, achieve some of their family engagement goals. It has already been approved for inclusion in the bargaining unit by CSEA. So we are just seeking your approval as well.
Questions or comments, board members? My only comment is just noting that we are approving a job description and not filling that job position at this time, especially given what's coming up in the report discussion agenda. So board members, if you don't have any changes to make, is there a motion to approve this new classified job description?
So moved.
And I second it.
Moved by Ms. Sims Moten and seconded by Dr. Reid. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passing unanimously.
Cool, thanks.
You're welcome. Item F7, 2017 California School Boards Association Delegate Assembly Election. Mr. Matsuoka.
So we're in a region, and in this region there is one candidate who wants to be on the CSBA delegate. It's a board member from Goleta.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a request to vote for her.
We're all smiling because we love Luis Reyes-Martin. So, yes, this was the position that was held by Monique Limon when she was serving on our board, and essentially goes to delegate meetings a few times a year, works on issues that affect all school boards. And so it's an important position, and it's important that our region be represented. And so Ms. Reyes-Martin has decided to step up for this. And I don't know if anybody has any questions or comments, but we do need a vote to to approve her as our delegate. I guess that's the way I would word it.
So moved.
And I second it.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That passes unanimously, and this is going to school boards all over our region right now, and so we will know the result of the election within the next couple of weeks. That moves us to our report discussion agenda. First up is report and discussion on open alternative school recommendations. Mr. Matsuoka.
Is there no public comment?
No public comment on this item.
Wow. So the conversation of myself, Mr. Tureen has been present, and La Colina principal, David.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Ortiz?
Mr. Ortiz, thank you. We've had multiple meetings with them that have stretched back to December. I think I would start by saying I've been really appreciative of the OAS community with how they've engaged in that dialogue. It's not been an easy conversation because we're talking about budget and staffing, but they've been really respectful and really collaborative. They're here. I see many of the staff, getting to know them, but also the fact that they're here, but they're here to listen. And so I just want to express thanks for being here. And so the board, we're going to walk you through the recommendations at this point. There's a couple spots that are pending, two things, enrollment, and then I need to understand the office environment to make a final decision. So the narrative is there. The OAS campus, the school, was opened in 1975, and I never had the privilege of meeting Gwen Phillips. I think many in the community know her. She sounds legendary. She really was like the heart and soul of OAS. So I heard from staff she passed away about 3 years ago, I believe. So her presence is missed. Enrollment was steady over the decades. It peaked as high as 225, probably back in the late 90s, early 2000s. Over the last decade, I could only find data going back the last 8 years. In the report, the next slide, you'll see the last, I think, 5 or 6 years. Current enrollment today is 84 students. And that is just not a sustainable number for a school. It's too small. So here's the data. That 167, I believe, was a year where some open enrollment was helpful for OAS to receive kids from outside our district. You can see it's been hovering in the low 130s. That I think is sort of a sustainable number. It is getting kind of small to have the infrastructure of a principal office and all the other support staff. At 84, it is too small to have all those support pieces. That's where a small school gets expensive. So here are recommendations moving forward for next year. I know there were concerns about, will OAS be open next year? I said that to the staff and community in December. OAS will be open next year, but in a different configuration. So we're going to recommend staffing the school at a 24-to-1 ratio across the school. And that is generous in grades 4 through 6, because our other elementary schools are staffed at 32-to-1. But when you have a small school, I think we have to have some space just for smaller class sizes. Because if your K-3 is only one class, or even half a class, you're just not going to get larger classes, grades 4 through 6. To move the supervision of the school to La Colina administration. Mr. Ortiz has been doing that now for the last 4 months. He swings by, I think, probably every day. He's been great. He's been present. He's gotten to know the staff and the kids. So he's been really supportive. We're still deciding about the office manager position. I think in the details, I suggested that we eliminate that position. But we had a very robust conversation the last meeting, and there were some really good comments from especially parents about that role. And our office manager is back there, and you've been in the school for a long time, and so the community and the kids know her well. I need to get on the ground and see what goes on in that office, because it is an expense. We may need to keep that position in place, but we'll make that decision probably in the next 6 to 8 weeks. We are recommending that we not offer grades 7 and 8 at OAS. The current enrollment is 6 students. I've expressed my concern for pedagogical reasons, and when we get into junior high, our junior high teachers in our junior high settings have single subject credentials. And the OAS staff are all elementary teachers with multiple subject credentials. Now, the design of OAS, I would say it's worked in the past. I think a quality teacher could teach all those domains. But when you're that small, and we think about the demands of math, science, social studies, English in one person across all those disciplines for junior high, I think that's stretching it. So we're recommending not offering grades 7 and 8 for next year. And then kindergarten enrollment is a really important number, and I was very encouraged at the last meeting. It was trending up as, I think it was 24. Any latest updates? 26. So that's really healthy. I mean, that's actually, like maybe stop, because then we get into that awkward space of if we get 30, you know, we're not going to be able to run 2 kindergarten sections. So that's a good problem to have, though. So we'll work with the staff on that. Maybe not all kids will actually arrive, but that was a really important number, and the OAS staff has been out communicating. They've been out recruiting, and it's paying off. So that's very good. All of this has been, I think, pointing to a future conversation about a redesign of OAS. You know, 1975 was 41 years ago, and its initial design was great. It fit the needs of a generation of students and families. I would say that today, I mean, I'm just looking at enrollment and numbers, our community is perhaps asking for a different alternative kind of school. And I don't know what that's going to be, but I would ask for us as a school district and OAS but other stakeholders is what would an alternative elementary school look like in 2018? Because I mean, that's the era that we are in. And so I threw a few ideas into the narrative. I'm not all wedded to those. You know, it could be STEM. It could be supporting different kinds of alternative kids. And so, but let's invite a lot of voices to that conversation. And so the proposal is that we kick that design off in March and wrap it through the summer. And I would say by October 1, we need to have a proposal to the board, because if we're going to reposition OAS as a different kind of school, the communication around that's really important. So the idea is to have a redesign of this school in place for fall of 2018. And I think that's it. So, questions, comments?
Board members? Dr. Reid?
Yeah, I guess I would ask that there would be a real review over acknowledging whether to keep the office manager or not, because I know it's very challenging to run a school when you don't have somebody on site to just deal with the issues that come up, and they come up on a regular basis. And having someone just come by, I don't know if that's, I know in experience that it's a challenging thing. And so I would hope that there would be a plan in place before something like that would happen, and at least to provide an opportunity for the faculty to be in a discussion over that as well.
Ms.
What
Sims-Moten?
would be with regards to the enrollment trends? Is there a reason why they've trended lower? I mean, have they been going to traditional school, or what has happened? Is it?
You know, I've only been here for 7 months, so I think, you know, probably Ms. Parker would have sort of a historical perspective. And then, I mean, I'd have to turn to staff, but, I mean, Dr. Ramirez has been here for a little less than 2.5 years in the district office, so.
Dr. Ramirez, I don't know if you have anything you want to add, because I mean, we saw a drop when we closed for transfers, for interdistrict transfers at one point, and that was historical, and so you saw that sort of drop, but then a leveling out and kind of a bobbing up and down, and I don't know why, and probably OAS knows more why there was such a dramatic drop this year, and. You know, Dr. Ramirez, I don't know if you have anything you want to add, but it's hard to know what's coming down the pike, and I think it's really important for us to plan for it.
Yeah, I think in just in response to your direct question, I don't have any particular ideas. I have to concur with Mr. Matsuoka's kind of assessment that, revisiting core values, core purpose, and whether it's meeting the needs of the community presently and into the future might be a good discussion. But really, it would be just, it wouldn't be conclusive for me to offer up any firm details on why the enrollment has changed, particularly over the last couple of years.
Ms. Capps?
I just wanted to thank the team, OAS team, for being here. I was happy to be there at the open house this fall, and I've heard nothing but good things about OAS, and it was a privilege to feel it and see it, and to really thank you, Superintendent Matsuoka, for what seems to be a very thoughtful approach going forward. Thanks.
All right, well, this is on as a conference agenda item, and we certainly know that the OAS community may want to share certain opinions about things. Please do email us if there's any particular points that you feel like we didn't cover or things that you want to share. We would really appreciate that. And Mr. Matsuoka, when do you think this piece will come back to us?
I think the only piece, well, the two pieces that we still need to decide on is the overall enrollment will affect how many FTE of teachers are there. You saw the equation. And that will adjust the budget. If the enrollment goes up, then we'll put more staffing there. I think the enrollment's going to be, it's looking like it's going to be higher than 84, but we just have to see how the other grades flow out. As far as the office manager position, I think I need about 4 weeks, maybe 6. I need to see what goes on at the school on the ground, and then I'll bring a conclusion back to the board. But as far as, I think in 6 weeks we'll have some conclusions.
All right, thank you very much. And we're going to go ahead and move to item G2. This is discussion of new course approvals, San Marcos and Santa Barbara High School. Ms. Carey.
Good evening, everyone. This is the second time I'm bringing new course approvals to you. Tonight we have 4 requests for approval from Santa Barbara High School and 1 request for approval from San Marcos High School. I'd like to start with the Santa Barbara High slate, and I'll just call out what those are. There's calligraphy, computer science, English 12, a leadership class associated with the MAD Academy, and a designing software course. I know you can see the application forms and have had a chance to review those, so I think what I would do is ask if there are any questions or comments that we can respond to help clarify anything you might wonder about.
Board members? I did have one that the CS English class. And so my concern with that one, Ms. Carey, was that it is, the course request is as designating it as honors level. And this has not been through the A to G process at this point, correct?
Correct.
I know that the UCs are pretty rigorous about what courses they allow to have an honors designation at the UC level. And we have local designations of honors for a few things, and I think that's kind of a larger discussion that it might be worthwhile to have. I don't want to mislead, especially 12th graders. If this does not get honors designation from UC, I don't want to mislead them to think that they're going to get that honors bump on their GPA. And so I would be hesitant to label this as an honors class if it does not get the UC A to G honors designation. And so for that reason, I just want to be sure that that's flagged. I don't have a problem with the class in general. I think it looks, very interesting and is an alternative that, frankly, students outside of computer science might be interested in. It's a kind of a science fiction technical viewpoint that I think a lot of students might be interested in. But I just want to be careful that students, especially because we've been so careful at the 11th and 12th grade level about what we call honors, that we don't muddy that. So I want to be careful about that. Yes, Ms. Sims-Bowden.
Just for background, so are these classes that you're bringing as proposed courses, are they being requested by the students or just by you? I mean, in terms of the teachers to reach or have to give more flexibility or more variety, so how do they get here at this point?
Different ways. Typically, I mean, the point person usually is an instructor, but oftentimes an instructor is motivated by interactions with students or a student demand or, typically anecdotally, experientially, I'd really like to learn this, or I wish there was a course that did that. And if that matches up with an instructor's either expertise and or passion, then usually what happens is a course will be developed, usually researched to see if there are comparable types of courses in districts, particularly in California. And then this is the process that happens. I completely concur with President Parker's recommendation that this is really something that the High School Graduation Requirements Committee needs to take a broader look at. The honors designation, we have been in a shifting landscape over recent years and even decades in this district in terms of what it means to confer honors designations to courses, and certainly what our practices are around weighting grades and how that does or does not align to the UC CSU, to particularly the UC system.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions or comments on the Santa Barbara High courses?
Just
Mr. Ulloa? I'm see if I could do that. Mr. Ulloa?
Thank you.
Okay.
No worries. Just quickly, the calligraphy class, is that attached to VADA, or is that just a typical art class, or how's it?
That one is going to be offered to all students, and so typically what happens with an art offering is students who would elect to sign up for calligraphy, and you do need a critical mass of students for any of these courses to run. So the fact that they exist as possible courses doesn't mean they will end up being actual courses, although that's the hope by the instructors that submit them. In the case of a course like calligraphy, what we're seeing there is usually students who would elect to have that kind of concentration as they pursue their art elective in lieu of another art concentration, maybe ceramics, photography, freehand drawing.
And it's been a while since I've been in an art class in high school, so are they typically 1 semester, 2 semester? Because I notice this is a year long.
So art classes most art classes, and this is speaking globally in our district, conceive of themselves as a year long, but they can be taken in semester intervals. Sometimes a student needs just 5 units of what most students experience as a 10-unit course sequence.
Dr. Reid?
Yeah, the only thing I would say is that these courses look amazing, like the AP World History and the MAD Leadership. I would just wish or hope, and potentially there are courses like this being offered to all students, and that these look like amazing curriculum courses that hopefully, if we don't have them already, it would be great to be able to offer them to and have access to for all students.
Okay, on that one, San Marcos?
Yes, please.
Okay. So that's a good segue to the course that is coming to us for approval from San Marcos High School. Is an AP World History course designated as an Apple course for the Apple for the Apple cohort. Questions, comments? Mr. Behrens is here too as well. I also want to just recognize that Mr. Velasco is in the audience, who is the intended instructor for the CS English class from Santa Barbara High School. So thank you for being here, Mr. Velasco. I appreciate your effort and interest in developing that course.
Before the board asks their questions, I would say that the right box to check is year and not semester. Do not confuse the semester block. This is not a semester course. You grant 10 units. That should be checked year, full year. Okay.
Board members, any comments on this course? My comment on this is I really feel like that the Graduation Requirements Committee has some work to do, because I was looking at this and I know that the partnership academies, MAD and VADA, historically at some point in the past created a series of history courses and English courses that have the MAD name or the VADA name in front of them. And I don't know if that was required because they were official California Partnership Academies. I don't know if those courses are actually dramatically different from a standard AP class or a standard, English 9 class. So I look at this, and Apple has kind of been creeping along, and I suddenly looked at this one going, is this one, as I looked at it, is it really that different from just a world history class? Do these 3 academies, do they really need a separate designation, or is this just about having the cohort together, which we can do without creating these extra course titles? And so that's a question for me. And I think that that's something that I would really appreciate. I know that Mr. Ulloa and Ms. Sims-Moten are board reps to that committee, and that there are other, there's been some standing members of that committee. I would really appreciate it if that committee could meet and talk about this in some sort of comprehensive way, so that it just, doesn't keep multiplying, because it could. But maybe it needs to. I don't know. I'll listen to this with an open mind, but that's something that I'm concerned about. And this is just a discussion agenda item, and so we will move on to G3, which is report and discussion of Peabody Charter School renewal. Dr. Ramirez.
Good evening, Board President, Ms. Parker, rest of the board. I want to really acknowledge and welcome Mr. Daniel Barnett, who's been waiting here very patiently, and who will guide us through the bulk of this presentation. You've received the narrative, you've received supporting documentation, which we can speak to. Mr. Barnett is here to do that as well, so I will go ahead and turn it over to him.
Good evening. It's fun to be on this side. My name is Daniel Barnett. I'm Superintendent Principal, Peabody Charter School. Thank you for taking the time this evening to consider Peabody's charter renewal. In particular, I'd like to thank Superintendent Matsuoka and Dr. Raul Ramirez for working with me and my staff with this renewal process. They've made it really straightforward and transparent. I'd also like to thank the Peabody Board of Directors and staff, many of whom are here tonight in support. Peabody and SBUSD have been partners in this charter process since 1993, and I'm looking forward to sharing just a little bit about what's happening at our school. Most of you have been out to the school and seen what's going on, but I'd like to start by sharing a short 3-minute video that highlights some of our signature programs. We put this video together for fundraising purposes, so if you feel compelled, you can always do that too. Will it go if I...
Nice tie.
Hello, I'm Damian Barnett. Peabody Charter School is a special place, and we believe that all students should be successful at an education worth having. First and foremost, Peabody is a happy place, and in that space, we've developed a program that meets the needs of the whole child, and to give them the skills and dispositions they're going to need to be successful in the future. Let's go and take a look at some of these programs so that I can show you what students get to do at Peabody. Follow me. At Peabody, we know that relationship is important. In order to build those relationships, we've kept class size small in kindergarten through 2nd grade. Kindergarten, it's 10 plus 10. We also know that moving our bodies and being healthy is important, so let's go check out PE. Follow me. At Peabody Charter, we believe PE is as important as their academics. We've been able to maintain PE program 3 days a week for every child with a credentialed PE teacher. Peabody students move in more ways than just PE. Let's go see what's happening in the auditorium. Follow me. We know that confidence, cooperation, and communication are among the essential skills and dispositions that our students will need no matter what they do in the future. Our rich performing arts experience provides all students with the ongoing opportunity to develop these skills, whether it's in drama, where they develop creativity, bravery, and communication skills, or dance, where they learn cooperation, synchronization, and physical expression. We know from the success demonstrated by our graduates in the secondary schools that these multi-year experiences deliver powerful results. classroom is where the rubber hits the road. Let's go see what's happening there. Follow me. Peabody has always put powerful learning first, and we've added a lot of technology to help us do that. We use technology for students to tell their own stories, to program computers, build simple robots, and even do some simple electronics. With these tools, students are able to ask their own questions and find their own answers. But we also like to get our hands dirty, and with that, I'm going to take you to the science lab so you can see that in action. Utilizing the full option science system, our students get to come to our state-of-the-art science lab once a week to do hands-on experiments where they get to develop their creativity and their curiosity. Here, they get to learn more about the natural and the design world. While academics are our top priority, we also take care of the whole child. And here, we make a fresh lunch every day. So let's go check out the food they get to eat in our fantastic cafeteria. Follow me. Peabody has been cooking nutritious food from scratch for over 20 years. By providing non-processed meals, we not only nourish the body, but also educate their taste buds. Along with our nutrition program, students get to participate in our established gardening program, where they get their hands dirty and learn where their food comes from. Peabody is also committed to giving all students the skills to manage the pressures that can come from our fast-paced lives. We've been teaching simple relaxation techniques to all students, allowing them to regularly experience a moment of calm. All of these programs and more are here to support our children so that they can succeed in the future. In short, Peabody is a
I'll spare you the pitch right at the last end. I hope you enjoy getting to see some children here after a night of dealing with paperwork. I forgot that I'm in control. Peabody is the largest elementary school in Santa Barbara. We serve 750 students. K through 6, we proudly serve a diverse population of students. Our free and reduced lunch count has increased since our last renewal. And now that we're our own food service agency, we're able to review and process our own applications to be sure we help all the students who need it. We continue to contract with the district to provide special education services, and we have the largest number of GATE-identified students outside of the district's magnet program at Washington School. Being that Peabody was a conversion charter, meaning that it was a district school before converting to a charter, Peabody still operates with an attendance boundary. And for those students who live within that attendance boundary, Peabody is their home school. Peabody utilizes a lottery system to manage enrollment, and we actually have 4 lotteries, the first taking place in early February. The first 3 lotteries are for families for whom Peabody is their home school, and the final lottery in August is for transfers if there is any room. Before each lottery, there's at least 1 month of time for families to submit their paperwork. This way, we have eliminated a first-come, first-served way of enrollment, and everybody submits their paperwork, and then there's an impartial lottery to determine who gets in. We do have students on transfer. It should be noted that the vast majority of our transfers started with us in the attendance boundaries, and over the years, they have moved, and we have switched their status. Even with that said, the numbers you see here are actually the lowest number of transfers that we've ever had. And this year, 20 interdistricts will be graduating this year, and we're taking very few new ones as they come in kindergarten. At Peabody Charter School, we're driven now by what we're calling the learner profile, and this was a co-created document involving about 350 people from the community. Dr. Ramirez helped us with this document. It really outlined for us the 10 things that we want students to know and be able to do before they graduate from Peabody School. And the learner profile really is guiding our work and has allowed us to look at what we've done in the past with a new lens. And with that new look, we've made adjustments, and we've even made some pretty radical changes. It also has driven us really towards project-based learning because once we looked at these characteristics and traits, we asked ourselves, what's the best way to get there? And we partnered with the Buck Institute this summer, and we've begun that journey in the upper grades 3 through 6, doing project-based learning, and then we'll be expanding it down into K through 2 as we become more familiar with it as a school. Looking at the recent CAF scores that have come out, we only have a couple of years of results, but last year's data shows that Peabody is improving outcomes for all students, and while this data is positive, Peabody is committed to continuous improvement and strives to seek academic growth for all students. Like all schools in California, Peabody seeks to improve the outcomes for all students, including our English learners. And this year, we have adopted an integrated ELA and ELD program in grades K through 2 and in grades 4 for the purpose of building on our program and improving our Tier 1 instruction for all students. And while this data is at above the state average, we definitely seek to do much better than this. As you saw in the video, Peabody has embraced a whole child approach, and we feel that the benefits of this approach are cumulative, and the data bears this out. If you look at CAS data again, while our third graders perform in the top 3 or 4 in the district, schools in the district, our 6th grade students last year were the highest performing 6th graders of any neighboring school. And while test scores can always fluctuate by cohort, the data shows upward growth for all students across all grade levels. And as a board, you should feel comfortable in knowing that students attending Peabody are in very good hands, and this is something that we are focused on and we seek to continue improvement. This is just a quick look at our reclassification data. Again, like all schools, we're focused on improving this. We set a goal of 40%, and we've been able to reach that goal, and so we continue to make forward progress on this. And we have an ELD, full-time ELD coordinator, and she's worked with the district as well, and so we're making sure that our reclassification criteria matches your reclassification criteria, because, as you know, all of our students will become your students when they join the secondary. So thank you for taking the time to hear a little about our school. The primary goal for effective authorizing is really to partner with schools like Peabody to provide a quality education for all students. I hope you can see that our partnership is working and that children are thriving at Peabody Charter. I thank the SBUSD board for their support of Peabody for the last 25 years. The renewal process allows us not only to check in and share our work, but it's also a reaffirmation of the truth that the students at Peabody, that the students that Peabody serves are truly all of our students as they do come back to you in the secondary school. And to close, I'd just like to formally present the materials here and in your packet for consideration again of renewing the charter for Peabody for a 5-year period from July 1, 2017 to June 30th, 2022. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have with the time remaining.
Thank you. And Mr. Ramirez, do you have anything to add at this point? Can I just ask, so this is essentially kicking off our state timeline, although we've worked so cooperatively together, I feel like, you know, things could come earlier and that would probably be okay. But when are we due to have the public hearing? Would that be a month from now, or is it 30 days?
We haven't determined the date, but I can get back to you on an exact date.
Is this the official submission, like stamped, we got it today? Or have you had it for a while?
It was submitted to us 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago.
Okay. Board members, any questions or comments? I will just say, well, first, one quick question. We just changed our enrollment, our transfer deadline.
Yeah.
Did that end up having any repercussions for you at Peabody?
The bigger challenge for us at Peabody was the change in the gate testing, actually.
Mhm.
And so that was more of a scramble in terms, but I think because we have, that just put us in the awkward position of everybody enrolling, or everybody in second grade needing to say whether they wanted to go to the magnet program or not before we even had results. And so that was a challenge. But I think that we can work that out in the future. Because of our multiple enrollments over time, the transfer piece hasn't really played out. I think it could be a bigger issue for you, because as we continue on with enrollment, we'll have people coming to you because we'll be full.
Right.
And that will be, more of the challenge. And there's no way for us to know if we're full until we get there. And so
Right.
there's no way really around that.
Do you have a wait list for kindergarten at this point?
We don't. We just had our first round of kindergarten enrollment. We were able to take everybody. I think we had 96, and we take 105. So our next lottery will be in March, and I'm confident that we'll be full at that time.
Right. I want to say that it's just been, as a board member, it has been so productive and pleasant and cooperative. Sometimes we disagree and there's friction between the district and, any particular charter because sometimes we have disagreements. But it has absolutely been a pleasure to work with you over the past few years, and I know the members of your community. And so I anticipate that this will be a pretty straightforward process. Thank you.
Before I go, I'd also like to thank Dave Young, because he and I and Steve Isolini, we meet every month just to talk about facilities issues, and that's another place where the district and the school really connect, since it's your building. And that communication has just been fantastic, and I think has been really helpful over the last couple of years.
Well, good, and we look forward to making some changes at your school with our bonds that passed.
We look forward to that too.
Thank you. Dr. Reid.
I just wanted to know if I could go there. No, it's just, you've done a great job with the school, your staff and your community, and it was amazing when I visited, and you just reiterated all the great things that you're doing.
All right, thank you very much, and we will be seeing you soon.
Great.
We're now on item G4. This is the report on California Career Technical Education Incentive Grant. Ms. Carey.
Okay, and while Veronica Rogers makes her way to the podium, I'll just inform everyone that sometimes you'll hear this referred to as CTEG. So we're doing that internally often, and that does stand for Career Technical Education Incentive Grant. It's a state grant that is meant to stimulate not only the proliferation of career technical education pathways, but I would really say it's sort of to enhance them from how we might maybe more traditionally conceive of them, to ensure that there are highly qualified teachers, that there are really robust partnerships with real industry partners in the community, and to ultimately yield college and career readiness for students and for our graduates. That the new indicators in the state's new accountability system do include a robust representation of how CTE, successful completion of a CTE pathway, helps to deem a student prepared in terms of college career readiness in the state's new model. So with that, I'm going to let Ms. Rogers take it away.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. This Career Technical Education Incentive Grant has been going on since 2015. I have to give credit to Dr. Dradi, who initiated us getting the grant, and for us in following through and program monitoring with it. Initially, we, as the grant was awarded in 2015, the goal of the grant, as Ms. Carey had said, was to make sure that we can maintain our current programs as well as be able to offer new career pathways. And having had children through this district and being an administrator in the district and been around for over 30 years, I'm so pleased to see that we have 25 different pathways at our 3 to 4 high schools, and this is the first grant that also involves our 4 junior highs. So the goal of the junior highs is to support the pathways that are going on in the high schools, and the goal of the high schools is to be able to offer these opportunities, which I shared in the narrative of the different grants or the different pathways that are available. And the goal of the high schools is when our students complete 2 to 3 coursework for the introductory course, or they call it a concentrator and then a capstone course, that they are ready to be able to go into a career or college or dual enrollment, or go on to we have perfect opportunities with Santa Barbara City College as well as with the university, and whatever opportunities that the students would like to have is there for them. The important part with this grant is that it really has 11 elements that, and I shared an example of what each one of the school's pathways went through. And the 11 elements are really to hold the schools accountable, not only with their education, but with their the leadership that's going on within the schools, making sure they have high quality curriculum, and making sure that these courses are A through G approved, as well as being able to be articulated with our community college. We have several different advisory groups for each of these pathways, and with these advisory groups, the key component is having an industry sector person that's involved not only with the teacher, but students and parents in helping to formulate, are these pathways actually really getting our kids prepared for the workforce? And that's an exciting opportunity here in Santa Barbara and throughout our state and actually nation. One of the things that we're really looking at with that articulation is making sure that the students are able to go into the career in a college or go into a career in the industry or do both. So all those opportunities are available for them. And I was thrilled to, Peabody's gone. And I was thrilled to see the project-based learning that they were talking about. A real key component of our career pathways is the work-based learning modules. And having kids start off, and I call them kids because I'm older, but having students start off and being able to be ready in the classroom, be ready in the workforce, and be able to have some hands-on experience and get excited about what they're learning. And with that, we want to make sure that our counselors are providing that information regarding the career technical education pathways. And you'll see the abbreviation CTE or CTEG all over the place, but that's what we're looking at. And making sure that we're meaning counselors are really meeting with our students and knowing that there are those different opportunities available for our students. There's different, and creating those strong industry partnerships is what I was talking about with the advisory pathways. So with that quality access, if you go on, how does our community even know where these pathways are? How do they know what opportunities are available in our high schools? And one area we've been working on, and I'll give some credit here with Brian Rouse here, and with the high school principals and with Ms. Carey, is we're looking at having our career technical education pathways available for all of our students at the high schools so that they can not just go on to the 3 different high schools, or 4, including La Cuesta and Alta Vista, but being able to go into our course catalog and look and see what opportunities. Work in progress. It is a work in progress. It's one of the first times we have this all online. It's right after English, math, science, social studies. You'll see CTE. And it has all the industry sector pathways there, and you can see where the courses are and what sequence they would need to have. And one big key piece in this, which is a work in process, is the certifications for each of the pathways. What end result do we want our students to be able to come out with so that they are ready to get into the workforce, ready to get into the career that they want to move forward to? So we're very excited about that, and as I said, work in progress. The grant sunsets June 2019, and so the goal in these 3 years is for it to be a sustainable pathway that can run by itself and within the district. So those are big shoes. Those are big shoes, but so far we are in round 1. We are moving forward towards round 2, and then it'll sunset in year 3. And a lot of what this grant does, as I shared, is each of the schools did the self-review tool evidence chart. I gave you a sample of that in your packet, what those 11 elements are across. And that was actually designed by one of our high schools. It's not something that's in the state, but it's to make sure that we're looking at those 11 different high-quality elements for a CTE program, and then putting priorities together on what evidence is needed to support that budget-wise for year 1, round 1, which we're just finishing this year, then round 2 for next year, and then sunsetting in June 2019. The work-based learning, connecting student learning with the world of work, that's involving our different industries. And we have trade art with our construction pathways. We have the engineering academy. We have VADA. We have the culinary. We have so many opportunities for our kids. I'm really excited for our students going through the Santa Barbara Unified School District. I have 3 kids myself. One of them went through the health academy and is a doctor now, so pretty cool. A niece who's in the culinary hospitality industry. So we're doing good. We're not at the top, we're not at the bottom, we're not in the middle. We're a little step above, but we have some work to do, and we're working on that. As we look at providing students with the career awareness, the career exploration, and the career preparation, that would really be in your third course as well, which has a lot of the work-based learning, so the kids are out in the field. And with our construction trades, they actually have a passport of competencies and certifications that they're doing, so that they can be an apprentice and be actually working as well as going to school and being sustainable. Brand new is this year is the articulation with the junior highs as far as CTE pathways that are available, the high schools and Santa Barbara Community College. That's been going on since we first started with the Perkins Grant in 2006. Preparing students for success, and we kept that open in post-secondary education, college, and careers. That's being able to have the opportunity to go to any university college of choice. So that's pretty exciting. And how do we know if we're doing a good job? First off, I talked about the program monitoring using the self-review tool, being sure to look at those 11 elements of a high-quality CTE program. Are we doing what we say we're doing? Are the dollars going into the classrooms in the hands of the students and the teachers? And that's what we're really looking at. Federal program monitoring means the California Department of Education will do a walkthrough with our schools and make sure that's what's happening. Second, I've met with Brian Rouse and our data with Chelsea Guillermo Juan, I think I said it right. Attendance, looking at our attendance discipline, student engagement in courses, looking at our grade point average, looking at access to curriculum for all students. And that means the big word, all students. Access to that curriculum, increased test scores, enrollment, rate of certification, and that's when I was talking about the exit portfolio that could happen for each of the pathways, as well as those CalPADS and LCAP metrics data that we'll be looking at. Some of this was already required through the Perkins Grant that started in 2006, but will be further extended with the CTIG Career Exploration Grant metrics data. And open to any questions? Clarification? And I spoke very rapidly.
Mr. Ulloa.
Great presentation, thank you. So I was just wondering, part of the articulation agreement with SBCC, would they be able to, if a student, let's say, is in the medical academy, would they be able to save themselves some time when they get to SBCC to do the nursing program, for instance?
Absolutely. The beauty of dual enrollment is they're getting high school credit with the A through G requirements as well as getting university credit. So absolutely. And on several of our pathways, the dual enrollment is already occurring. And actually, we'll be coming back to you with some course approvals. I saw there were 4 tonight, but there will be a few more as we're working on making sure that we're A through G certified, as well as making sure that we're more unified in the dual enrollment, even with something like work in progress right now is the culinary 1 introductory course, and then working then to the culinary 2. So we have a pathway that's consistent with the 3 high schools, not having silos individual all over.
Ms. Sims-Moten?
Yes, great presentation. I echo that. And I just so appreciate this. I mean, in terms of students who feel they can be successful through any pathway, whether that's going to career, whether it's going to college. I also think in terms of how this then provides for our retiring workforce. And just in general, just in the workforce of like construction, or I was talking to a gentleman just by happenstance the other day, and he was saying he's like the only person that actually goes out and does welding on some of the oil rigs and different things. So he's retiring and there's no one else to come along with that. And so as you're working and integrating the industry with this pathway, then we can know that our workforce and those technical jobs are still there and available and still absolutely necessary as well. So thank you.
Absolutely. And also bringing, our retirees in for mentorship, work-based learning opportunities. So, and a lot of people are involved in the advisory boards with that as well.
Dr. Reid?
Yes, ditto, Ms. Sims-Moten, and great presentation. And I just wanted to acknowledge the fact that you have taken this on after retiring from your Goleta principal job, and you'll be retiring this year, so we're going to be losing you. but you have heralded this forward and done a great job. And I think it is very important that we have access to these opportunities for students. And thank you for taking it where you've taken it.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to the future and living in the community and as we're, working on acquiring the armory and where we're going with our kids. This is good for kids. This is good for our community, and we want to make sure that it moves forward and is sustainable.
I'll just add that I appreciate having the public conversation about it, because I think probably you as candidates or new board members, one of the biggest frustrations is the number of people in the community that come up to you and say, why don't you do, career education in our schools or things that are practical? And you want to say, we're doing so much, and the community is really not aware of it. And I know we've tried and tried, but it is just something that we're constantly having to communicate about and make sure that people understand that we really are doing, career technical education, and we are preparing kids to go into careers straight out of high school if that's their choice. So I think that's important to
Thank you for opening that door, Ms. Parker, because we're actively seeking, we have advisory boards for our individual pathways, and what our goal, Ms. Carrie and I have been talking about this, is getting a district-wide advisory group that would just meet once to twice a year, maybe 4 times a year, but being able to, how can we improve that PR so that our community really does know all the opportunities that are available for our students? And the critical piece is getting the industry sector people involved in that. They're very willing to be involved in the individual advisory councils that they're already on, but it's getting a district-wide one. So if we can get, I'd like to have at least 1 to 2 members from each of the industry sectors to be involved in that. Contact myself or Ms. Carey. And we're actively seeking that. And I'd like to have that meeting happen before the end of this school year.
I think that's an excellent idea. Great. All right, thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you. Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day. Moving on to G5, this is discussion of Board Policy 0450, Comprehensive Safety Plans. This is a first reading. Ms. Wageneck. Some dramatic changes here. I don't know if we can move forward with this.
I was going to say, I don't know if we can cover it in the 5 minutes. Thank you, Ms. Parker, Board. I bring to you proposed revision to Board Policy 0450, which refers to our comprehensive safety plan. Really what I'm asking you to do here is just codify a practice that we've had in place for as long as I can remember, which is that the board approves the school safety plans in and around the end of February, early March. So I'm asking that we codify that by saying that the comprehensive safety plan shall be reviewed and updated by March 1st of each year and forwarded to the board for approval. Do you have any questions?
No. So I appreciate this because I think without that language, that it appears that we have to see it at the board level before March 1st.
Right.
And I think this gives just a little bit more flexibility. So I
It does.
appreciate that. All right. And these board members haven't had the chance to see the comprehensive safety plans yet. So that's going to be, it's a big job to look at those. So yeah, thank you very much. And I guess that will be coming up.
You will on February 28th.
Okay. Is it all right if we have this come forward on the consent agenda for final approval? Okay. Thank you, Ms. Wageneck. Next up is discussion of board and superintendent protocols, item G6. Mr. Matsuoka.
Was it 2 Saturdays ago we met? 2 Saturdays ago we had Dr. Castrita lead us through a conversation about board superintendent protocols. I remember when I was researching Santa Barbara Unified and I saw that list, I was encouraged. And to hear it now from the other side, it's a very good set of protocols. I think we eliminated some redundancies. And so we're bringing that version back to the board for review and then eventually approval. So it's a chance it's really for the community to see what the board has been working with, actually for a long time, and now the new board. So it's a good set of protocols.
Any comments on this, Ms. Sims-Moten?
I just wanted to say that I appreciated the opportunity to get together and do that and to see what the previous protocols were in terms of that and just to participate that, and I certainly enjoyed the facilitator as well, so I appreciate the opportunity to have that governance training.
Any other comments on that? I will just, echo that. It was a great process with the new board, and I definitely think that we tweaked it for the better. And I would suggest that this come forward on the consent agenda for action the next time. And we will get it back on the website, and remember to review it regularly. All right, thank you very much. And this brings us to item G7. These are the initial recommendations for closing a $2.5 million budget gap for 2017-18. Mr. Matsuoka.
The multi-year projection that I included with the board packet was an older version, so Brian has put up the correct version from first interim. And if you can scroll down to the bottom. So this budget model needs us to close those red numbers at the bottom right. And so for next year, that's a $2.5 million budget gap that we're seeking to close. The year after, we'll deal with that next year. So the narrative has a list of things that we've identified, things that we're sure about that we can execute on. And the subtotal so far is about 1.85 million. So there's still 650,000 to go. I'm confident we'll get there. I didn't produce any slides because each line item's pretty self-explanatory. I think broadly, I did see an email go by from Dr. Lanny Ebenstein, and he's got a draft version of the enrollment projection report. I need to review it first offline with him, and then we'll bring that to you. I'm very interested to see what he sees in birth rate cohorts and how that's going to affect us. As I mentioned in the narrative, this does not include any reductions in staffing due to enrollment decline. Now, we'll be watching that over the next 2 months pretty closely to see what materializes in our schools, especially kindergarten. And then if the enrollment is less, we'll adjust our staffing. It's always it's really a prediction game. Like we do need to hire teachers because we have patterns of how many teachers we hire. I'm also aware of a local school district that might have some teachers that might need a home. So I think there's some talent to hire out there. I need some data from HR about what have been the historical trends on elementary, secondary hiring. Secondary, you have to wait because of the single subject pickiness of hiring. But elementary, if there's patterns, like if we hire 12 to 15 a year, it's not a gamble. It's just, this is our trends, and we can hire a certain number. I think we have to wait till the enrollment data is solid before we wrap it up. But you'll see in there, we see some savings around secondary staffing and elementary, that just by nature of efficiency, we can reduce staffing there. That's going to be our biggest savings, is our staffing costs. So any questions on a line item or broadly?
Board members, any comments or questions at this point?
I would just say the earlier comment.
Ms. Bowden?
Oh, sorry. Now, right.
I had Mr. Ulloa wait. Now, see what you've done, Mrs. Bowden? I had Mr. Ulloa waiting, but go ahead.
Oh, so sorry. I needed to have a little, funny stuff today. So how does that, or this, what we're doing, tie to any pink slip issues that are going on? Is that tied to the teachers? Is that tied to enrollment? So how does that come about?
My sense, and I haven't talked to Mr. Trina about the data and the patterns, I think the pink slips are around temporary teachers who are backfilling leaves of absences. And so if a leave of absence teacher comes back, we have to possibly release that temporary teachers. So it's a procedural step. Again, that's a trend that I'd want to know. Do we end up hiring back all of our temporary teachers? And after I see that data, if we're always hiring back all of those temps, we probably can sort of moderate, slow down how many pink slips we give. So it's really a numbers game. So,
Mr. Ulloa.
Sorry, just for some clarification for myself. Technology coach? Like, all I picture is like John Madden yelling at some computers.
Mr. Rickman, can you describe what our technology coach role does? That is kind of funny.
It's actually just another word for TOSA. There are teachers on special assignment who work on integrating technology into the curriculum with our staff members. Yep. That was good, though.
Ms. Capps?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because that was a question I had, just having served on the parcel tax oversight committees. An issue that came up regularly was that sometimes it was hard to just sort of give a lot of new technology without the coaching. And so I just took note that that was a position that was being potentially eliminated or reduced. So it just wasn't quite consistent with what I had heard over the last couple of years, that seems to be a position very much needed.
So we're not actually getting rid of any of the coaches.
Got it.
We have stipends for what we were calling integrators, and so we're looking at just kind of reorganizing things in a way that we were planning on doing anyways, but it really benefits us with the cuts we have to make.
So tightening.
Tightening.
Not eliminating.
We were going to reorganize anyways, like I said.
Okay.
That we feel like, I met with the tech coaches at length. They feel like the integrators that we had and the stipends that we were giving weren't needed anymore at the sites.
Okay.
But we're not cutting any of the tech coach positions.
Mrs. Bowden?
I'm sorry, I need to just make you give me permission, right? So can you explain what integrators are? What does that mean?
Yeah. So when we started rolling out technology in mass in our district, we wanted to provide teachers with the opportunity to really explore technology. So we paid for, at the secondary schools, we paid to have a teacher have a period off to research technology and how to integrate it into the curriculum. The goal was then that they take that and teach it to others. And then our tech coaches helped everyone on all the sites. We're looking to change the program to get rid of those integrators because we don't feel that that period is necessary anymore. Yeah.
I'll chime in at this point that, yeah, I have concerns about the technology, TOSA, just because we have more and more technology coming out. If we really get the sense that we've reached that tipping point where the majority of our teachers are really comfortable with it and don't need the level of intentional professional development that we've been providing, and with the number of approaches that we were taking to make it accessible to teachers that found this more challenging, then absolutely I would go for that, but I just want to be really careful that we are not jumping the gun too soon.
So I totally agree with you, and I'm sorry I didn't know this was going to come up, or I would have prepared a presentation. We're actually, as part of this reorganization, we're taking some of the money and adding a tech coach position.
Okay.
So we're going to spend less but have more tech coaches because we found them more valuable in the training of teachers, being on site. So it's a reorganization, hopefully, that will give us more capacity to train teachers.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah, and to your point, we're well aware of that. When we do surveys to see what teachers want, technology training is always either 1 or 2 on the list. So that's training we still need to provide in a planned and thoughtful way. So this is a way of reorganizing things that I think will benefit teachers.
The next thing on the list that concerns me is the gate consultant. We spend like a fraction of a percentage on funding that serves our gifted learners, but also our advanced learners. My concern with this is we currently have 2 part-time coordinators. One works with secondary students, one works with elementary teachers, and I should say teachers and parents. And in both cases, they don't actually work directly with students usually. And essentially, it's like a day and a half or so for that elementary piece, which is what's up here. And my concern is that this would be diluting what the secondary person is doing. Either they are not able to give their full attention to what they're doing now, if the idea is that they would go K-12, and yet with our strategic plan, we are underutilizing what we're doing for advanced learning because we have such purposeful intention to move more students into advanced courses, and it starts at the elementary level. And so I want to be sure that, for technology, that what we're actually intending to do, that there's a plan around it, and that it is better than what we have now, and not less than what we have now, because right now we really do so little. So that's a concern for me. And I would like to know more about that. And just in general, for all of them, I would really love us to see as a board, because it's going to be hard. All of this is going to be hard. And we can sort of talk abstractly about secondary staffing and elementary staffing, but these will be real people, and there will be effects on real students. And that's going to get more difficult once people realize, oh, this is me, and when parents realize, oh, this is my child. And so I want to be sure that we have a framework that we're talking about. If we could connect this to the strategic plan in ways where it's like everything is important, but where are our priorities right now? Can we talk about this with the community in a way that makes sense with the strategic plan, with LCAP, and just be thinking about that when it comes forward to us to make some decisions? I think that'd be really helpful.
Let me clarify the staffing recommendations. We're not cutting any program. We're not cutting no teacher's going to lose employment. As we look at the master schedules, there's some spots where we can be more efficient. And so let's say we reduce one social studies section at a high school. So then we work with the school and make sure everybody still has full employment. There's usually enough retirements or leaves of absences in a high school that we can absorb that. If it results in either a split position or a transfer, I mean, we'll try to avoid that. I mean, we're not talking about like massive changes. It's like 2 periods at this high school, 3 at this high school. I think we can accommodate it. I mean, my written statement to the community would be, we're not cutting anything. We're just simply using the resources more efficiently based on our class size averages, based on our contract. Now, there are some things in this list that there are reductions in support and services. So looking at this strategic plan and all those priorities, we can try to do that. It's a lot. That strategic plan, when I read it, was a massive document. So trying to square that against a process that we really have to wrap up in about 6 weeks, it's tough. So we'll do what we can in terms of, what information do you need to make final decisions about this. The GATE program, I mean, we'll talk about it. We've got the 2 part-time coordinators. We have to, because so many of us are new, what do they do and how do they support our GATE program? So.
Dr. Reid.
Yeah, I just would like to say that I appreciate the work that you're doing to figure this out, and that it is a difficult and challenging process, but it also provides, and I'm hearing opportunities for changing ways of doing that could actually be more beneficial and more cost-effective. So it actually can be a positive thing in how you frame it and what we're able to accomplish through this process.
All right, and so are we going to see it, I assume we'll see it again on a conference agenda before it becomes an action item. Is that correct?
You will see an updated version. Meg, when did we do the second interim?
March 8th. Board meeting March 8th. Is that or is it the 14th?
I think it's the 14th.
Yes, we have to have it to the county by March 15th, so the board meeting right before that.
I'm sorry, so a final decision on,
No, you'll see a final multi-year
oh, okay, so we'll
projection.
we'll have a conference, we'll see the second interim then, and then have a conference agenda around budget cuts at that time also.
And I think we can get close to the full $2.5 million plan by March 14th, but that's only 2 board meetings away, so we may need another board meeting. But that multi-year projection should be getting us pretty close to 2.5 million. So you're going to see this probably every month, and so you'll have lots of opportunity to, give us input, your comments, your concerns. If the community has concerns, they can come to our board meetings.
Yes, I want to be sure that they have that opportunity to feel like they're fully heard before we make a final decision. All right, thank you. And that moves us to item G8, a discussion of Student Services Annual Report 2016-17. I'll note that it's 9 p.m. We have 30 minutes allotted for this, Ms. Wagnick. And I was taking a look at this, and I could see that we could probably spend 30 minutes probably on one page. So I just want to be mindful of that. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Parker, Board. I do bring to you the annual Student Services Report, and as Ms. Parker said, we could spend a lot of time on these topics, and so I intend to go through. Can we go to the slide? Thank you. Okay, they were submitted. They have them.
We have them. We could share our screens.
I have mine.
Huh.
They're not in that document.
It happened I think it happened to you.
Yeah, you didn't get something.
I can't remember. This happened.
Yeah.
They are on my lap. So the board did receive that?
Yes.
Can you take care of that for me? Yeah. Okay. Well, while Brian's doing that, I will start by saying that one thing that struck me as I was reviewing this today is that I'm going to talk, we'll talk about subgroups, and we'll talk about just proportionality, and we'll talk statistics and rates of things, but these are our students. They're real people, and so I'm going to try to keep that in mind as we talk. So really, just as a skeleton of how this is broken down, student engagement and student climate are 2 of the 8 LCAP priority areas. And so what I've done is organize this underneath those priority areas. The first is going to be student engagement, really centered around attendance, and then student sense of connectedness as measured by the California Healthy Kids Survey, and then move into school climate and talk about suspensions and expulsions. So the state sets 95% annual attendance as a target. In 2015-16, we dropped about 0.5% to 93.2%. This is not the direction we want to be going in. We definitely have work to do in this area. So I'll talk in a minute about what we're doing in response to that this year and last year, and then moving into 2017-18. Our truancy rate is 25% overall. That means that overall, we have 25% of our students who are deemed to be truant. Now, truancy, a lot of times we think truancy, we think the 15-year-old who cuts out and, you know, mom drops him off at school and he makes a beeline down to State Street. But really, truancy is any student who has 3 or more days of unexcused absences. And what we've tried to do in beginning last year and moving into this year is really focus on educating our families about what unexcused absences are. There are so many families who think, well, we went, we took Thursday of the 4-day weekend off in order to extend our weekend so we could go skiing as a family. Well, that's a wonderful thing for the family, but that's an unexcused absence. And so really changing the way folks think about things, that having your son or daughter accompany you to a medical appointment is an unexcused absence unless it's their medical appointment. And so attention to attendance is starting to help us with that. I looked at mid-year numbers, and we are seeing our overall attendance creep back up. Oh, I thought maybe Meg would be cheering over there, but she's
Still in Japan.
so attention to attendance, which I'll talk about in a minute, is helping with that. And then chronic absenteeism rate, 18% of our students missed more than 18 days of school. 18% of our students missed a month of school in 2015-16. This is a problem. It's a problem because students are missing school, but it's also a problem because we're moving towards chronic absenteeism as being a measurement that the state is going to look at specifically. So again, attention to attendance is a system that, because of our limited time, I won't dive too deeply into, but a year ago in March, we actually went into a contract with A2A. They send out all of our letters. And so we went from sending letters out for truancy only to really sending letters out to families also regarding absenteeism. So when students start to flirt with that missing more than 10% of the school year, families will get a letter. And it makes some families really upset that they're getting this letter. My daughter has straight A's. She's on this team, she's on that. So we really had to front load a lot of the school, Ms. Carey's nodding her head, with talking points on conversation. So again, we're just trying to change the culture around attendance in general. And then we also have the district attorney's class program, which is commonly known as the SARB process. It's a 5-step process that we really work with families all the way along from the first phase, which is 3 days of unexcused absence, all the way up to 84 period truancies for secondary. So those are 2 interventions we currently have, and I'm looking to add another intervention for next year that I'll share with you later in the spring. So when we talk about attendance, student engagement is what we're looking at. Are students engaged in school? Do they want to be there? Are families engaged in school? But also we're looking at a student's sense of connectedness. How connected are they to school? 67% of the students in our district have a high sense of connectedness. I don't like that number, because that number means that 33% of our students do not have a high sense of connectedness.
May I just ask real quick, Ms. Wagner,
Yes.
is that the actual question? Do you feel connected to your school?
Yes, and there, I could provide the board with the actual questions that go to our students. I should back up and let you all who are new to the board know that we used to only give the Healthy Kids Survey as required in grades 7, 9, and 11. Last year, we expanded that to be every student grades 5 through 12. And for the purpose, really, of our LCAP and getting a sense of where all of our students are. Latino students feel less connected than their white peers. Interestingly,
It's really cold in this one.
our socioeconomically disadvantaged students felt more connected to school than other subgroups. And that was an interesting 65% of our secondary students who are socioeconomically disadvantaged feel connected to school, as compared to 58% overall in our secondary schools. I don't have an answer to why that is, but that is. So in terms of looking at what interventions our schools are using in terms of increasing that sense of connectedness, that is borne out in the LCAP. You can see it for individual schools in the single plans. School climate, there are 3 identifiers that the state mandates. The first is district-wide suspension rate. We have seen an overall decline of 14% since 2012-13, and I want you to know that the data that you received in the narrative, 2014-15 was an outlier for us. We have some concerns about the data because that was the year that we transitioned into Illuminate as our student information system, and then in 15-16 transitioned back. And so you will see consistently, it looked like we did really well in 2014-15. We don't believe we can actually use that number, which is why I decided to take it back to 2012-13 and look at how we've done over time. Disproportionality is still a concern. It has decreased, but at a slow pace, not a pace that I think we can really, breathe a sigh of relief on at all. Our disproportionality in terms of our suspensions is very high. 60% of, as I look at my notes here, when I wanted to, so total number of suspensions, Latino students make up roughly 60% of the population in our district, but they make up 76% of our suspensions. 33% of our suspensions are represented by students in special education, 20% higher than their total in the district. And so disproportionality is a huge symptom of a much larger problem. Our district expulsion rate, we had 49 recommendations for expulsion last year, but a total of, I've got to look at my total, 31 actually moved forward. Special education with Mrs. Rodriguez's leadership and myself, we've worked together to try to, as part of this disproportionality, when students with IEPs are recommended for expulsion, really make sure that their IEPs are in place and that those students' needs are being met. And that's why we had 49 recommendations for expulsion, but 18 of those did not move forward. And 17 of those 18 were students with IEPs. Again, disproportionality is decreasing, but not in any way that we can celebrate yet. Moving on to the third state indicator, that's students' reported sense of safety. Again, this comes out of the Healthy Kids Survey. 75% of our students feel safe at school. I am happy for those 75% of our students, for those 3/4 of our students. But 1 out of every 4 of our students does not feel safe at school. So something we really need to address. Students' sense of safety is higher in elementary school than in secondary. That's not a surprise. Our Latino students and our students living in poverty feel less safe than their white peers or their peers who are more advantaged. Interestingly, but not surprising, adults feel that school is a safer place than the students report. That, to me, points to the fact that we need to listen to our students more. I need to listen to our students. Opportunities like talking in class are great ways for us to hear what students have to say, and it's great when students show up like they did earlier tonight and voice what they're feeling and what they need from us. In addition to the state identifiers.
Hold on just a second, Ms. Wagener.
Yeah,
Dr. Reid?
I just wanted to, when I was reading through this, and maybe I'm incorrect, but you have that 75% felt safe in school. And I guess what I had written down was in secondary, 64% of the Hispanic and Latino felt safe compared to the white students, 75% who felt safe.
Let me go to my...
I mean, I just think that
So
there's a
overall in the district, when you combine elementary and secondary, it's 75%. 70% of all, 70% of all students in secondary feel safe at school. 64% of Latinos feel safe at school.
Right, okay.
Okay.
Mrs. Moten? And
Was
then-
it in the narrative?
It was in the
Was it written
narrative. It
differently in
said-
the narrative?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just trying to make the connection between the earlier slide that said that more students living in poverty felt more connected, but yet they still feel less safe.
Right.
Are those two connected in any way?
So, and it comes down to the way that the questions are written, and Dr. Guillermo and I collaborated on this report. She could definitely address that and the way that the survey is written and the questions are asked. But sense of safety really comes down to connectedness means, some of the questions are, do you have an adult on campus who you feel close to? So that's more what the connectedness about. Are you involved in clubs, that sort of thing? And then safety is do you feel physically unsafe or emotionally unsafe at school?
And is that feeling less safe tied to the absenteeism or the truancy at all?
We would have to dive in and do a study, but I would tell you that based on my experiences, yes. That students report to me all the time that they're, I'm the chair of the SARB committee, so we hear students say this was going on or that was going on, whether it's safety around adults or other students. Yeah.
Ms. Capps?
Just a comment on how you obtained the adults feel, just because I took a California parent survey just yesterday, and I wondered if that was from there. Just curious about the methodology of the two surveys.
Right, so we ask all of our parents in the district to take the parent version of the California Healthy Kids survey.
Okay.
We shoot for a 30% response rate from our parents at each of the schools and district-wide. This is a good opportunity to also share with you that ultimately you can look at each school's results and see where all of these indicators are in each school.
Oh, that's interesting. And so the one I took, I just pulled it up, a California School Parent Survey, was that one that you access as well?
California School Parent
I don't
Survey,
know.
that's different than ours. So that wasn't through
It came
your
through Parent Square, through
Oh, okay.
Ms. Bazemore, yeah.
Okay, then it is the California Healthy Kids Survey given by West Ed. They may give it a different
Different
title.
name.
Oh, it has been? Okay.
Great. And then just on the, thank you for flagging that. I
Mhm.
thought that's a really interesting data point that poorer students feel more connected. And I would just wonder if perhaps it's because they're getting one or more meals.
Well, I
at
thought of
school.
that also, yes.
Right.
Right. Yeah, that was immediately what popped to my mind. When you're fed,
Right, it's a
you
good
feel
plan.
like people care about you.
Right.
And if you eat two, and sometimes some of our students eat three meals a day
With their
at
families,
school.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Thanks.
so. We also, beyond the state identifiers, like to look at three different pieces of our, these are specifically suspensions. It does not mean that we don't have incidences of bullying and harassment that occur that aren't dealt with suspensions. In fact, we try not to when we can. So we have drug and alcohol-related offenses. I am concerned that the rate of suspensions for drug and alcohol-related offenses, it has increased. I do think, as I said in the narrative, that part of this is because of retraining of administrators, of the way that we're working with youth when they are suspended. We try to, with these suspensions, send this on the first offense and even the second offense, send them home on the day of the offense, and then have their suspension served in school, have them meet with the YSS, really looking at this as a symptom of lack of connectedness, disengagement, and try to work with the students. And I'm talking about students under the influence, not students who are furnishing or selling drugs. Again, as you saw from the data, we do have disproportionality. It concerns me. I want to know why. I am always looking to know why more students of our Latino students are not just suspended, but I believe using drugs and alcohol. I have my theories on that, but I think it goes back to issues of poverty and trauma and anxiety that those students are feeling. We have our incidences of violence, bullying, and harassment kind of all bundled together. These incidences, in terms of suspension, have declined 41% since 2012-13, and I can say with a lot of certainty that this is because of the practice of restorative approaches. Things that we used to suspend for, we no longer suspend for. We work with students. Certainly not with violence, not where there's been a fight, though we do use restorative approaches with students who have been involved in fights, but really in the areas of the bullying and harassment, those sorts of things. So I think that can be attributed. We continue to have disproportionality in this field as well. And then finally, weapon-related offenses. The rate has fluctuated over the last 4 years, but it's pretty steady. We're not seeing a big uptick or drop. When we talk about weapon-related offenses, I want to make sure you all realize we're talking about knives, dangerous objects, and imitation firearms. We did not in 2015-16, and we have not yet this year had any firearms. I also wanted to note that of the suspensions, with only 2 exceptions, none of those involved the brandishing of a knife. So we do have students who are carrying, and primarily it is knives, and a lot of times they report that it is for their protection. Many times those knives are found when we are conducting a search because of drug and alcohol-related offenses, and the students also have a knife or other dangerous object in their possession. We've had 3 incidences of imitation firearms so far this year. I didn't want to miss out on the opportunity to quickly go through the restorative approaches. I will be bringing you a board report regarding restorative approaches and give you a more in-depth opportunity to learn about that. We practice the 5 R's. relationship, respect, responsibility, repair, and reintegration. As a result of the outcome of our evaluation last year, we really are trying to ask teachers to focus on the first two. If teachers can focus on relationships and building respect, we think that will go a long way to build connectedness and to engage students in school, because we like to be around people we care about us. It's kind of bottom line. We're working on the repair and reintegration piece, and how we bring students back into school once they've been suspended or expelled. Laura Wooster-Dorfman, who's our TOSA, is working with a team of assistant principals to really beef that piece up, to have it be more of a welcome back meeting, and then not just release students back into school after they've been suspended, but give them the opportunity to reconnect with that assistant principal and with other supports in school over a period of weeks. Laura provides monthly trainings. I know you all are busy and work and so forth, but if you ever wanted to attend one of her one-day trainings on restorative approaches, they are highly regarded. Folks enjoy them. She also serves as a one-on-one peer coach for our teachers who are struggling in the classroom. So she'll go and work with them for maybe a week or two and provide feedback and provide them with an action plan. And then our assistant principals, I'm really wanting them to take the lead on making sure that restorative approaches, we need to make it Santa Barbara's way of doing restorative approaches, not Denver's way or Oakland's way, but Santa Barbara is a unique place. Sometimes we're terminally unique, but we are unique, and so we need to make it our own. So I'll be bringing that back to you later in the spring. I can say that because I've lived here since 1972. And then quickly, and I know I promised you all kind of a rundown of who our community-based organizations are that we work with. So in terms of our interventions, again, the LCAP, the SIPSA, the school safety plans all include interventions that individual school sites use. Law enforcement, I do want to give a shout out to our school resource officers. We have 3 fantastic individuals, Deputy Hedricks at Dos Pueblos, Deputy Manley, yes, he is Deputy Manley, and at San Marcos, and then Alan Toison, who's our new school resource officer at Santa Barbara High School and Santa Barbara Junior High. They are very student-centered individuals who are members of our team, so we're happy to have them. Community-based organizations that we work with closely, we work with more than this, but would be Community Action Commission, Just Communities, of course. They'll be giving a Safe Schools training later this month out at Deckers in Goleta. Our CALM, our Child Abuse Listening Mediation, Pacific Pride Foundation, and SB TAN that supports our LGBT youth. CADA, of course, which provides drug and alcohol counseling and beyond to our students. Family Service Agency, which provides us with school counselors in our elementary schools. The Mental Wellness Center that we're really just beginning to develop a relationship with AHA and What is Love. So these folks are all actively involved in our schools in various ways in order to, try to turn the tide. So, questions? You've had some so far.
Any further questions, board members? Mrs. Moten?
See, I waited for you. Yay. I'm learning technology. I just want to know, with regards to working with the community-based organization, is there an evaluative tool that across the things, the services that they're providing to the students, as opposed to some of the individual services that we're providing? So do you do an evaluation between the groups?
So that's a great question. And I wish Dr. Guillermo Juan was here because she has done a fantastic job of kind of reining all that in. It used to be a little bit like the Wild West where we just let folks do their own evaluations and we shared data. And she's really streamlined that process in a way that we can make meaning of what's going on, what is working, what's not. So she has an actual application process. They need to do their own evaluation, and we're really looking for them to do meaningful, real hiring outside groups to do the evaluation for them. Some are farther along on that than others. And that's something I've really been pushing is, we have some long-time relationships, and it's like, well, where's the proof? Where's the proof? We need to see the proof because our students deserve it.
And then just to follow up, so the contracts that we have with them is an evaluation piece written into their contract that we expect some type of evaluation from them?
Not always, but that's definitely something that we're looking at.
Thank you.
Dr. Reid? Yeah, I would just reiterate what Ms. Sims-Moten said, is to have some sort of evaluative piece involved with the organizations that are supporting the school. Because, I mean, across the board, we're seeing obviously challenges and suspensions, expulsions, disproportionate reality, thank you. It's late.
Yes, it is.
But I mean, so I think right now you're sharing all of this information, and then you're going to come back to us with a plan, or you're going to share what the plan is, or what's going forward. How are we meeting these challenges? Is that what comes in June, or?
We have, basically, if there's something you want to hear about specifically, you can request it and I'll bring it. That's how it works. We don't have a set plan where I then come back and say, okay, here's the plan for addressing attendance, though I would like to report to you on that and share more about our results from A2A and class. But I think what we do need to say is what we're doing working, and if it's not working, we need to change it. And I can tell you that of this group, and I'm not saying the others haven't, but I know that CAC, CALM, FSA, AHA, and What is Love have all done evaluative research recently in the last 2 years. CADA is looking to do that. And we worked with them extensively this year to expand their evaluation.
Ms. Capps? I would build on that, I think, because I had the same reaction of this is a really interesting landscape, but there's some numbers that you even identified yourself as ones that were really not where they should be, the 67% feeling connectedness, meaning 33% aren't. So I guess I would just put it potentially back on you if there's ones that you are really going to make an extra focus on. If we could hear about that, I would certainly enjoy and value that, understanding sort of the strategies that you're going to renew or put more emphasis on or anything like that, especially maybe that with that one connectedness or the safety that we spoke about, maybe that could be an element of the safety plans that we're going to be soon hearing about. I think we would value that as a board.
Absolutely, and I just, with one last thing to mention, it would be remiss, and that is, we are looking at Dr. Ramirez and Ms. Rodriguez, and I'll be helping out with that, looking at a multi-tiered system of support so that, because we can't separate this from the academics and so how do we build that multi-tiered system of support, look at our practices in general, and then how do we increase engagement and connectedness so that students can be successful. So thanks.
Dr. Reid? Yeah, I just wanted to add, I met with, is it Jennifer Fareed of AHA, and she had mentioned that she was doing a whole graph of all of the community organizations and designing who does what relative to students and relational to the district, and that she was utilizing information from all of the community organizations and getting that feedback. So I didn't know if you'd heard about that, or...
I didn't hear that Jennifer was doing that, but I'd be interested to see it. I
Just
have one in
because-
my head right
yeah.
now, but.
Yeah, she was just saying because there's a lot of overlap, and then what are we doing, and how are we really meeting the needs of the students? And so it sounded like a great start and a plan.
Any other questions or comments? I would just add for members of the public that, we've just been looking at sort of a summative slide. There's a lot more detail in the other attachment, and board members may have questions that they want to send Ms. Wagnick's way about some of the specifics, but also members of the public can look online at the agenda and get more details by looking at that. All right, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
We are now at item H, returning to consent items, and we have none to return to. I is coming events. Anything that we should be thinking about in the next couple of weeks? Board members, anything on your radar? No? Ms. Moten?
Yes, do we do like a event for Read Across America? I know it's March 2nd. Do we do that at all?
Some individual schools do, and you may be contacted by individual schools to do some reading, or it may be that will happen next year as they figure out that there are new board members' email addresses to get to. All right, that brings us to future agenda items. Anything that board members want to put on the agenda right now, Ms. Capps?
Well, just to echo your, the earlier point you made about the dogs I'm also tired, excuse me, but it does feel as though we need to get up to speed on the policy.
Great.
So thanks.
And our next meeting is Tuesday, February 28th. And if the board has no objections at this point, I'm going to adjourn our meeting.